In the mid-'60s, a lot of Formula One drivers came over here. Jackie Stewart, Jimmy Clark, most notable among them. Graham Hill took a victory here. But how do the Formula One drivers of today view the Indianapolis 500? We had an opportunity a week ago to ask them. Are they interested? What do they think of the Indianapolis 500?
All I can say is I believe there's some fantastic drivers out there in America, and you know, I take my hat off to certainly a few of them for what they have already accomplished and what they do.
Page, we have action both on and off the track for you today. Michael Andretti is riding the crest of a wave. He scored a victory at Vancouver. He's taken the pole here. He is closing on Bobby Rahal in the points and could take the points lead this weekend. But perhaps most important, he's realizing the dream of a lifetime. On Thursday, he announced he will be driving in Formula One for Marlboro McLaren next year. But there's other occurrences happening today. The new Formula One champion, Nigel Mansell, this morning has announced his retirement from Formula One, despite the fact that Williams upped their offer during that news conference. And Nigel Mansell says, well, he may go to the IndyCars. The logical seat would be Michael Andretti's. So just a few moments ago, we caught up with Carl Haas, Michael Andretti's car owner.
I've been talking to a number of people. Yes, I've had some conversations with Nigel Mansell. I think the whole thing, whatever I do, it'll probably be solidified next week, and I can't really tell you what the team's plans are right at the moment.
Was Nigel's announcement this morning at all a surprise, or were you aware that he was going to make that decision?
Oh, I had some inkling that he might be doing that.
And if you have a list of people as candidates, does he rank number one on that list of people you'd like to put in the car?
I wouldn't want to comment on it.
So as you can well imagine, that's throwing a lot of fuel on the rumor fires and has everybody excited here at Mid-Ohio. What do you think, Derek?
Well, if this all does come down, it'll be a tremendous shock to the European F1 community in general. But if he comes over here, there will be a tremendous buzz of excitement in racing in general. But you know,
after spending last weekend at the Formula One race in Portugal, we asked Emo what he thinks Nigel Mansell's expectations are in making the transition to the IndyCars.
Yeah, he's very excited about the idea to come to IndyCar racing. He's looking forward to be a new challenge for Nigel. Being the Formula One world champion, the defending champion, he'll have a lot of pressure. I think for us it would be great to have Nigel. And he, for sure, he's concerned with the oval track. I mean, the transition from road circuit to oval. But Nigel's very talented. With Michael Andretti, he's going to get a lot of experience from Nigel. You know, good team with Newman-Haas. He'll be in good hands, and he should be doing really well.
Want to count Formula One champions here at this track: Emerson Fittipaldi, Mario Andretti, and of course about to become IndyCar driver Nigel Mansell is a spectator here today as we watch Paul Tracy make his move around Fittipaldi. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Nigel was watching very closely as Michael got clear of the traffic and is now out at the lead of this pack. Nigel, we welcome you to IndyCar racing. For the American audience who's so excited about your arrival, what was the key that made you decide to go IndyCar racing, to give up Formula One after a world championship?
Well, I think all the credit's got to go to Paul Newman and Carl Haas with the Newman-Haas team, and all the boys associated and sponsors. They spoke to me in a very positive manner, and basically I think your racing is very exciting and probably better than ours.
Was it a difficult decision to reach?
It was a decision that took a lot of commitment, obviously with moving the family and having 3 young children, but it's one that I've made and I'm very happy with. And I'll tell you, the one thing I can't get over being here this weekend is just how cooperative all the officials and racers are in the pit lane. It's marvelous.
The reception has been very positive for you. When does the testing begin?
It's been exciting, and the testing will begin in January.
All right, we wish you well. Nice to see you on this side of the pond. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Chloe, Leo, LeGreg. Gonna say hello to the kids.
All right, Nigel Mansell now a member of the IndyCar family, Paul.
And of course, we honor him as the reigning world champion. They got a great series going over there, too. The real factor will be Eddie Cheever sitting just behind Rahal, who may try to battle in the closing laps. There's Nigel as he keeps track out from the edge of the circuit.
That's an illegal position. He's the only one that will be allowed to sit out there.
Sad. When you're the world champion, do whatever you want.
What sort of a pass do you need to sit on the wall like that?
One that you and I don't have and that I don't want.
That takes years of Formula One to earn.
Today, it's round number 1 of the PPG IndyCar World Series, the Australian IndyCar Grand Prix from Surfers Paradise. And Surfers is located on the east coast of Australia, right on the edge of the Pacific Ocean. And here at Surfers, it is Mansell Mania, as all over town, not only pictures of the IndyCars, but of the reigning Formula One champion driving in his first IndyCar race. Let's go down to Mansell's pit area and Gary Gerald.
Paul, without question, the interest that this man has triggered in his arrival now in IndyCar racing borders on the phenomenal. Never before in IndyCar history have so many press members been accredited for this race, with the exception, of course, of the Indy 500. And Nigel has responded brilliantly. He's been fast in practice. He set a track record. He starts from the pole. The question now, Nigel, as you take this step to becoming a full-fledged IndyCar driver, what concerns, what apprehensions?
I think the major concern at the moment is whether it's going to rain or not. And I just hope the car works as good as it did in the last 10 minutes of the warm-up this morning. But really now, just concentrating on the job in hand is the most important thing.
Have a good, safe day. Keep in mind, he is the first man in 37 years in IndyCar history that in his first start wins the pole position. Let's go back in the pack.
Is about to begin as Nigel Mansell leads the field off the corner. Jimmy Swintal, the flagman, his first time in that position. As he takes a look at the front row, it's nicely aligned. The green flag comes out. Emerson Fittipaldi moves to the front. Paul Tracy moves outside of Nigel Mansell, and the Penske cars pick up the lead. Very tight traffic, but everyone's safely through there. Fittipaldi, then Tracy, then Mansell. Robbie Gordon sitting back in 4th place. Now Fittipaldi beginning to pull a bit on Paul Tracy as Robbie Gordon begins to attack at the back of Mansell's car. Robbie Gordon still trying on Mansell as he comes down inside, and Robbie Gordon forces his way past Mansell. Mansell has dropped from the pole back 3 positions. From time to time, it's been spectacular.
The hardest thing on Robbie Gordon will be that every time he looks in his mirror, Mansell's there, and he knows he's running against one of the very best in the world. And Robbie, there he is, going right by.
No quarter out of Mansell, and you could hear the bottom of the car drag as he moved underneath him. And Mansell picks up 2nd place. Wow.
Right now.
Whoa. And here comes Nigel Mansell as he comes inside of Fittipaldi. He used the advantage of a back marker that was sitting by the edge of the course, put himself into a great position, and does what he does so incredibly well. Jumped on those brakes at the last second and got past Fittipaldi. And Robbie Gordon is now right there to challenge Fittipaldi as well.
You know, ironically, he didn't really want to do that to Emo. He put Emo in a very embarrassing position. Watch this. He comes in. He's got both front tires locked up as much as he can lock them up. He's embarrassed because he really did Emo wrong, but he couldn't help it. Once he was committed, he had to continue on. The guy that was good and smart on that was Emo, because he avoided an accident, Paul.
So you're saying that he did him wrong and that he really shouldn't have come in slapping inside like that?
That's right. He was out of control. Nigel was going in there out of control with the brakes locked up. No way to turn, no way to do anything. If Emo would have kept going with his line, there obviously would have been a wreck.
I don't know. I thought it was kind of fun to watch. Spectacular piece of driving.
It certainly was. But
here's on board, and Mansell is so capable of driving inside somebody. Look at that.
See, he didn't want to do that. It's slippery in there, but once he was in there and committed, he'd been running in on Emo like that and thought he could get by him, but Emo probably went a little bit deeper. I think Emo's had hot brakes and been easing off a little bit on them, Paul.
Now the report is that Nigel Mansell will receive a stop-and-go penalty for passing under the yellow, Bobby.
Well, I was wrong about that. The yellow must have been waving where he saw it, or excuse me, where he was when he passed Emo.
So Nigel Mansell, the leader of the race, should see Jim Swintel give him the black flag indicating that he has to come in for a stop-and-go penalty, and that will give the race back to Emerson Fittipaldi.
It really hurts, especially on a road circuit, a stop-and-go penalty, because Emo will keep going as fast as he can go, and the stop-and-goes have to be under the green, not under the yellow.
But is that an example of the kind of learning curve that Mansell will face here in the IndyCars as he learns slightly different rules and different procedures?
Yes, it could be. You see where you see all the yellows right now, for example? That's what Mansell saw. Now, whenever he got to the turns where the yellows are, he's not allowed to pass. After you pass that waving yellow flag, there's no longer a waving yellow flag, then it's okay to pass and race again.
Now we come to the situation where he rolls into the pits. Gary Gerould waits for him. Gary?
We wait with the team, Paul. He comes gliding in. It won't be just a stop and go. It'll be a stop and fuel and tires. They were within 3 laps of their designated first stop. They've decided that they'll make that stop and go ahead and change everything. Now, I don't think this is going to hurt them. They should be in the window still for a 2-stop race. He's on the Jackson flying. We've got him just under 16 seconds.
Mansell back into the action on lap number 19. 65 laps the scheduled distance, and as Gary Gerould pointed out, based on the tactics a little early there, cold tires coming out, really got on the brakes hard.
Yeah, left 15.3 on his stop. No chassis changes, just tires and fuel. Paul?
Robbie Gordon coming out right behind Fittipaldi, and Fittipaldi on these terribly hard tires here. In fact, most of the drivers, most notably though Mansell, has had trouble adjusting to the tires here. There is Mansell though sitting up at speed as he comes around Gordon and gets in behind Fittipaldi again. Mansell has been on the fly. Remember, his tires are up to full temperature.
Yes, that's right, Paul. I'm just going to bring that up. His stop and go penalty didn't make any difference because he did a pit stop within about a lap, maybe 2 laps when Emo did it. And when Emo came back out, Mansell's tires were hot, and look what he did. Right on by.
Mansell, just while the pit stops were going on, he came out in 5th place behind Leyendyk, and he was able to get around Leyendyk very quickly, and now cutting his way up through the field.
Let Gordon pass.
Watching for Nigel Mansell, looking for Jim Swintoll's checkered flag. And it will be a history-making event, too, as here he comes. Nigel Mansell has scored the victory in the Kmart Haviland Lola. Despite 2 different mistakes during the race, but let's listen to the car. Let's see if he has fuel all the way to the finish. Coming across in 2nd, Emerson Fittipaldi. Robbie Gordon 3rd, Mario Andretti 4th. Does Nigel have any fuel left in that car? Can he go the remaining 2.7 to make it back to the winner's circle? Now, he's going to wave at the crowd, but I don't think he's got the fuel to make it. Let's go to Gary Gerould.
Paul, he says that on the radio that he ran out of fuel as he took the checkered, and we could hear the engine start to misfire, we believe, as he went by. I don't think he'll be able to get back around.
Boy, they better do a special compensation for whoever calculated the fuel load on that car.
And
as
Jim
Nigel Mansell rolls to a stop. But all you have to do is get across that line.
It shows you the pit crews don't always tell us the truth. They thought they had enough, or they knew that they had enough, but we outfigured them on that because we didn't think that they were going to be, we didn't really think he was going to have enough, did we?
Well, you didn't, but he made it. All you have to do is make it to the finish line. Nigel Mansell has done it. He makes history here today. The defending Formula One champion knows exactly what IndyCar racing is about and is showing this crowd and the world what he's made of. I hope that he has enjoyed it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That's fantastic, and a great credit to the team.
What went through your mind when you had that tire that you thought was going down? He's getting the congratulations now, Carl Haas. Pretty evident that what went through your mind when you had the tire go down? You had to come in for the extra stop.
I was disappointed, but it was my own fault because I clipped the curb probably too hard and punctured it. But I was even lucky on the last set of tires. I hit the barrier real hard coming out of one of the chicanes with about 15 laps to go, and I mean the tires and wheels are real strong.
Concern about the fuel at the end. Describe it.
Oh boy, I mean I had to get 1.9 on the fuel meter for the last few laps, and I was just about doing it. But then coming out the fast chicane on the last lap, the engine started to quit. I just put it in 4th gear and prayed I could get around the next corners, and as you can see, I just got past the straight and it stopped completely at the end.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
On the way to victory, Mansell shattered the track record by nearly 20 miles an hour, averaging 97.2 miles an hour, followed by record. And suddenly the world champion's car was in shambles. Black skid marks and a hole in the concrete wall told the story. Because of Nigel's previous spine-shattering injuries, the rescue was slow and calculated. The crowd watched, stunned and worried. As his mount was towed away, Nigel was air evacuated to a hospital with a concussion and bruises, but already he wants back behind the wheel. Nigel Mansell, the defending World Formula One champion, got a little too close yesterday, slammed the wall. Now let's get a full update on that situation from Gary Gerald.
Well, we're down here in turn number 1. Nigel's crew estimates from computer information, that he was running at 182 miles per hour as he entered this first turn. As he lost control, he impacted the wall, absorbed 20 Gs. That was how hard he hit. It's truly amazing that in view of that impact that he was able to survive with just a mild concussion. He does have some severe bruising on the right shoulder and in his lower back, but he was released from Good Samaritan Hospital here in Phoenix this morning, and in fact left Phoenix around 9 o'clock on a private jet and should be arriving now near his home in South Florida at this very time. Yesterday afternoon we had a chance to spend some time with Nigel in the hospital. His co-owner Paul Newman was alongside chatting. Mansell was feisty. He wants to race. He remembers a similar scenario in Brazil last year.
I mean, I was knocked out in Brazil when my great friend Ayrton Senna decided to have me off, and you know, I hit the wall there and I had a bit of concussion and obviously had a few other problems, but I didn't get any sleep that night and had to go through some sort of medical test the next day, which I managed to sort of smile my way through. And then, you know, lo and behold, I wasn't on top form, but I managed to win the race. So, I mean, I'm not knocking the rules and regulations and the medical profession because they're first class, but I always thought rules were there to be broken. And, I mean, heck, I'd like to be the first one to break them. And if I can drive tomorrow, I mean, I'd love to. Even if I start last, I don't mind.
But the rules prevent Nigel from starting. Now,
he becomes utterly calm, speaks very clearly to his crew chief, Derek Walker.
Here was Al Unser Jr. as he tried to get around Nigel Mansell just a few moments ago. Locked the brakes, almost went off in the runoff zone, got it back under control. Same situation, Bobby, your nephew.
Yes, well, there's the two guys. Here's a head-car cam shot. There's two guys right there that have capabilities of driving deeper in the turns, and I think any other driver, Little Al momentarily locked his front tire. He almost didn't make it, but those two guys, it's like two big bull elephants hitting each other head on.
And last year, just 0.6 of a second, so the reconfiguring of this great historic Long Beach track has made a terrific difference. Here comes Little Al down the outside.
Al Unser Jr. looking for room.
Whoa!
Comes around to the inside, kind of tries to fake Mansell to one side, and he touches him. He touches Mansell, and you see the suspension drop on the back of Mansell's car. It looks like there is damage there.
A Little Al's car, the left front is bent. He's out of the race. Just a little touch like that sometimes bends him completely. That's the same place the Little Al touched Mario Andretti a couple of years ago. Same turn.
And an ongoing fight for second place there. Now Paul Tracy does have some breathing room, especially as we have to keep watch on Mansell's car. Little Al climbs out of the car, obviously not injured, but there's damage there. Nigel Mansell may also have damage. We look at it again. Here they come into the corner. Little Al looking for room. He set him up on this. They get together. It's hard to believe that Mansell's car doesn't have a problem too.
Well, it's on the rear. The rear's a lot stronger than the front, Paul. And the thing about it was that Little Al should have known that Mansell can't see him. That's in that blind spot of the cars, and Mansell had to be looking to the left. Little Al could have passed him on the outside. The road is just not wide enough.
Well, if it's going of Long Beach, we are under a full course caution now. Just too many incidents and too many vehicles out on the track. Now here was the situation that set up the final incident that brought us to the full course yellow as Al Unser Jr. trying to maneuver outside of Nigel Mansell, touched with him. Look at this. He comes right inside. Now he tries to get past. And that bounces Mansell's right rear in the air, but more importantly, it causes damage to the front of Little Al's car.
Bobby, I say that Nigel was blameless there. I think he was trying to give Little Al as much running room as he could and just couldn't give him enough. What do you think?
Yeah, well, the thing about it is it's a blind place. Little Al was passing him. He was on the outside of him. He was going to try to get him in that right-hand turn, Sam. But the problem was, look at here. Nigel can't see that he's still trying the outside, and Nigel is taking a normal groove. Unfortunately, Little Al was there between Nigel and the wall.
This is a corner that has caused difficulties before between 1 and 2 here. most in particular between Al Unser Jr. and Mario Andretti. Let's go to Gary Gerould.
Paul, under the yellow, Nigel Mansell came in for service and an inspection. They changed all 4 tires, didn't find any damage at the back. They made the stop in under 12 seconds. The whole crew here has an opportunity to watch all of this because there's a large video screen right behind their pit. They've been able to see the replays. That helped them ascertain if there was a problem they had to address.
So under the full course yellow, they line up at the moment, Paul Tracy and Nigel Mansell. But Paul Tracy picked up a tremendous advantage in that he made a stop for a blistering tire under the yellow.
Al, obviously great disappointment. Tell us what happened as you battled for that position.
Well, Nigel and I, we were running together, and he's just blocking very, very well, I guess, you know. And then I got him, he got a little bit too much blocking me on the inside going into turn 1. Put him on the outside of turn 2 entry, and it screwed him up a little bit. I was set up for it, and I did him on the outside. And then when we came off of turn 2 exit, he squeezed me against the wall.
Did you think you had him cleanly passed?
I had him covered. He knows exactly where I am when I'm behind him, but as soon as I got beside him, he lost where I was. So, which is BS. The guy, you know, what can I say?
All right.
We'll handle it.
Thank you, Al.
Al Unser Jr., his first DNF here at Long Beach since 1985. Pretty disappointed, Bobby.
Yes, I know he's very disappointed. You know, they've had such a hard time getting that car work. The whole Gallus crew, they're all going to be so disappointed, along with little Al, because it's the first time this year they've had anything fast at all.
Yeah, but if it's working here, how's it going to work at Indy?
Well, what they've learned here will help every place because they've been so far behind, non-competitive at Phoenix by a long way. This is definitely a step forward for them. They've got the Chevrolet running. He buries the throttle about the middle of the turn, and it just jumps off.
Nigel Mansell taking a slow run down shoreline, and several cars, including Boesel and Rahal, get past him. Gary Gerould?
Nigel just was on the radio, we're told, saying it's rough as anything. We're assuming he's talking about the engine, the crew very concerned.
So Nigel Mansell, who was looking so strong, chasing Mario Andretti, now he is not.
Well, you know, Nigel Mansell, of course, has been compared with Michael Andretti this year, and Michael is having a lot of trouble in Formula One. You saw Carl Haas there, Mansell's car owner. But as Michael tries to deal with unfamiliar courses over there and is having trouble, remember that when Nigel dealt with an unfamiliar course here, i.e. Phoenix, he had a major crash. So what I think it proves is that both these series, both Formula One and IndyCar, are very, very tough for newcomers, no matter how good you are. And both these men are terrific.
Let's listen to Nigel's engine now as he approaches the Toyota turn, turn 1.
Well, Paul, he's definitely down a cylinder, and the engine has probably dropped a valve, just hasn't gone through a piston or into the water. It's really running bad. He has no power.
Nigel Mansell's fallen to 6th place.
Yeah, back to 6th, where you don't score a lot of points. Well, just remember, this is his first qualification ever on an oval.
And Nigel has just taken the green flag. Now, let's consider some of the history in the past month of this man. He cracked a wall at Phoenix. He had a terrible bruising injury to his back. Still, he came back and sat on the pole at Long Beach. Then he went to the hospital for surgery. They put over 100 stitches in his back to try and drain blood out of the cavity. On Wednesday, just 14 days after that surgery, he arrived here at the Speedway to start his rookie test. Rookie for a world champion. Nevertheless, it's required. He started at the 185-mile-an-hour phase in the morning. By the end of the afternoon, he had passed the test, was running 4th quick of the day at 224 miles an hour. He's just completed his first lap in qualification attempt at the Speedway at 219.984 miles an hour.
That was probably the best first day that a driver has ever had at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, that last Tuesday.
Jack Arute, you have an update.
Well, Paul, in that last practice session this morning, they had a problem with their pop
tip-off valve. They exchanged valves. It is untried and untested. They were extremely concerned about this qualifying run. But the one thing that offset that concern is his fastest time of the month was set at almost precisely this time in the afternoon.
Well, Nigel Mansell on the straightaway. He's completed his second lap at 218.013 miles an hour. Bobby, the speed's fallen off a bit.
Yes, it is, Paul, but by the same token, not exactly. As he came out of turn 2 here, he kind of got him a breath because he's not quite in the groove. He's out a little bit wide, and he's into turn 2 just a little bit early. He's missing the groove by probably 2 to 3 feet in places.
In the inevitable comparison with his teammate Mario, Bobby, Nigel is not posting the numbers. He doesn't have quite as high straightaway speed, and he's way off in the turns.
Well, when you come out of turn 2, for example, slow, where I am, you're going to be slow down the straightaway. The same thing is going to be where you guys are, Sam.
Because the straightaways here are 5/8 of a mile long each, the exit to the second and fourth turn is absolutely critical. Nigel Mansell carrying 230 down the main stretch and then 212 in the first turn. His third lap at 218.124.
As he came through turn 2 this time, he was high all the way around turn 2. Smooth, but a little too high. Missed the groove by about 1.5 foot again, Paul.
A defending Formula One champion has never won Indy, interestingly.
An interesting change in career path, too. The reigning world champion waves off. Nigel Mansell will not take this run. He was averaging 218.7 miles an hour. Gary Gerald, you're with Carl Haas, the car owner.
Carl, just before they waved him off, you were saying you didn't want to take it even though you weren't in headset range with your crew. Why?
Oh, we think we can go faster later in the day. We had a bad valve this morning, and it really messed them up.
You didn't get any practice time after you changed the valve, is that correct?
Well, yeah, but I think it didn't do anything different, right?
Okay, so we will look forward to seeing you later in the day?
Yeah, he'll get back in the line. Yeah.
And still a threat for the pole?
Well, there's a lot of time left, sure.
Okay, thanks, Carl.
There may be the strategy that everybody else is thinking about. There may be a lot of time left in the day. Here's the way that...
Well, we mentioned he's in the middle of that third row. Here's Nigel Mansell. Nigel, earlier we were talking about the first today. First time to race on an oval, first time 500 miles, first time 7 pit stops. Are those your primary concerns?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I'm just trying to sort of detune myself at the moment to save all my energy for when I get in the car. But there's so many things to think of today, and you know, I've just been speaking to Michael in here with Mario, and he's saying he's learning some of the circuits as he's racing. Well, that's exactly what I'll be doing today.
Well, we wish you well. We remember in 1966, your countryman Graham Hill, the last rookie to win at Indianapolis. Have a safe day. Let's go to Jack.
And Gary.
And here is Nigel Mansell running a strong third as we go 50 laps into this race. 1/4 distance.
Ari Luyendyk leads it. Just 0.4 of a second back as Mario Andretti and then Nigel Mansell, and you can watch both of them now as they close on the leader. It's a three-way battle for the lead at Indianapolis.
Remember,
Nigel sets up his teammate. Nigel moves to the inside. Can Nigel and Mario make it side by side into one? There is a battle there, and Mario slams the door on Nigel.
There's no love lost between these two men. They were teammates years ago for Lotus in Formula One, but right now, this was a team that was originally a one-car team, Mario Andretti only, and then it became a two-car team when Mario's son, Michael, joined it. But Mario did not have in mind having the current world champion come over and be part of that team. He's handled it well, Nigel has handled it well, but believe me, they are deadly rivals on the racetrack.
Bobby Unser, this is a terrific battle.
Yes, it is. In fact, I was trying to get in on the line there just a second and tell you that Nigel really used good judgment there. Opposite of what he did in Phoenix, Paul, because he went under Mario. He technically, in our world, had him passed, but he backed off, let Mario go on in there. And
in traffic, Bobby, they're coming toward you again.
Yes, and Nigel's going to take another run at him. He's getting back down turn 2, coming off of turn 2, and he's really going faster than Mario. He's going to be trying some passes at the end of the straightaway, using the drafting to help him do it.
The Valvoline race summary after 50 laps, 1/4 of the distance here as Mario begins now to poke his nose under the side pod of Ari Luyendyk.
One thing working for Nigel as we see him pursuing Mario here is that in a sense everyone in this race is a rookie, just the way he is, because of the reconfiguring of the track. Everyone is trying to find out what's going on out there. Nigel showing Mario, sometimes you pull out like that just so that your rival sees you in the mirrors. You can try to shake his concentration. It's just a little hello, here I am.
Well, pretty soon he'll surprise you, Sam, and he'll drive right on by because he does have a little bit of speed on Mario right now.
And Bobby, don't think that Emerson Fittipaldi, who lies right behind him, isn't thinking, oh, look at those guys race.
On board with Nigel Mansell. Fittipaldi may drop off of this battle. He currently runs in 4th, but he is due to pit on the next lap. He last pitted on lap 16. That's the same lap that everybody at the front stopped on. So one would assume that there goes Nigel. He moves to the inside as they come across the line. And can he hold the line down to the inside? He does. And Nigel Mansell takes over 2nd place from his teammates.
We can tell each lap, each turn, he's getting more confidence. He just looks better going through the turns. He's more in a good racing line now than we've seen.
So Nigel Mansell at the front of the field. Mario, then Emerson Fittipaldi. 4th is Teo Fabi. Arie Luyendyk is 5th. Al Unser, followed by his son. 6th and 7th. Robbie Gordon is now in 8th. 9th is John Andretti, and 10th is Scott Brayton.
You are riding there with Nigel Mansell.
We ride with Nigel Mansell. We talked to him. Gary Gerould had an opportunity to ask him, when you're in the cockpit, are you aware of this giant crowd that surrounds the Indianapolis Motor Speedway? What are your concerns during the race itself?
I think the biggest thing is that I've never raced on an oval before. I mean, I tried at Phoenix but didn't quite get there. So I mean, it's going to be very difficult, and this is not just an oval, this is the fastest oval, the super speedway. I've just got to keep an open mind. I think I want to stay out of trouble. I hope that the car is reliable, and you know, I've never gone more than 200 miles in my racing career. So to do 500 miles is going to be a new experience as well. To be in the car over 3 hours probably is definitely going to be another new experience. I mean, I'm going to be doing a lot of firsts this weekend, and I just hope I can come through it all and you know, draw on the experience and gain a lot of strength and go on from there.
So Nigel points to his greatest concern as he passed over the 200-mile mark, or will pass over it here 4 laps ahead. That'll be the longest distance he has ever driven, so he will pass into unknown territory. So far, he has handled these pit stops very well.
Notice how
we are back live in Indianapolis. Under the yellow, Nigel Mansell, the leader of the race, came into the pits, but actually missed his pit position. The crew had to pull him back, Jack.
He did, Paul, but he showed a great deal of poise because he waited. He didn't make a miscue. He waited for Jim McGee to give him a signal as to what to do. As he overshot his pit, he locked up the tires. He waited patiently. Once he was told what to do, they pushed him back into his pit stall. As you can see now, he just waits. McGee radios to him. They push it back into the pit stall, and they complete the activities. Very, very lucky that it did not occur under green. It occurred under caution. Paul?
Here's the onboard Nigel Mansell's car, led to a 42-second stop.
And you see how tough it is to pick out exactly where it is that you want to stop. Look at how many different pits there are along the way. We thought that Nigel might be susceptible to a mistake of this kind. It's happened to him. It does not appear to have cost him a great deal, but this is what a rookie runs into when he runs Indy for the first time, whether you're world champion or not.
But Nigel was very careful about that, very patient. Once the mistake was made, he did not compound it. Let's go to Gary Gerould. As we ride with Nigel now, we can go back and take a look. This was a few laps ago. That's Arie Luyendyk just in front. And this is the pass as both of them looking ahead to slower traffic.
See, when Arie threw that block on Nigel, it slowed him up going in. And that's why Nigel, who saw what happened, was able to pick him up coming out of the turn. A neat bit of driving by both men.
Here it is again, different view.
And if you notice, Paul, that's right across the short chute. Like we said, that probably would happen earlier. Slow down going into the turn, accelerate across the short chute, and that's exactly how he got that one done.
So Nigel lost his Arie Luyendyk lost his momentum, and Nigel took advantage of it. Nigel, see, here's the situation that created this accident. Guerrero tried to get down under Jeff, and it didn't work. The two of them ended up against the wall. And look at Nigel Mansell ducking by on the inside underneath. Here is Nigel Mansell's onboard camera of this same accident.
And this is the first time Nigel Mansell has seen a crash like this from the cockpit of his Indy car. In road racing, usually when guys have an accident, they have it all by themselves. Here they ricochet often back into...
The Camaro pace car in front of this field, everyone closing in as tight as they can. Here will be the order. Andretti, Fittipaldi, Mansell, Brayton, Lyondike, John Andretti, and Scott Goodyear as the green flag waves already. Nigel Mansell sees it just ahead and threads his way through the middle of this field.
Look at how many cars are still running in this race this deep. I don't think we've seen this for years.
Record running to finish was 27, and boy, take a look as they move through this field now. Mario sitting up high. Fittipaldi comes down to the inside, and they battle side by side. Fittipaldi and Mario, and Fittipaldi surges to the front. Mario back to second.
Sam Mansell went right around the outside of his teammate Mario Andretti.
Now Lyondike moves on Andretti as well. Lyondike drops in behind Fittipaldi, and is already trying on Memo.
Obviously, Mario Andretti's had some sort of a problem.
The lead changes very, very quickly as Fittipaldi comes to the front. Lyondike to second. Mario dropping back. Fittipaldi threading his way through traffic now.
Remember, they've just been in the pit. Their tanks are full. The handling is different than when they were last out there, and it is working for Emerson Fittipaldi.
The black and yellow car they were working around was Davy Jones.
No more pit stop. This is a race to the end.
Now here comes Fittipaldi as he tries to stretch out his lead and use traffic to his advantage. And at the top of the field now on that maneuver, Mansell moves toward the front on the official scoring. On board now with Mansell. Fittipaldi to second. Lyondike third. Mario fourth, and Scott Brayton fifth.
A rookie leads the Indy 500 under green deep in the race.
And he passed everybody on the outside, the inside. He didn't care where he caught him. He went by what made it look like easy. And just don't match the track right now.
Yellow once again. The yellow light has winked on, apparently for Lynn St. James. She did stop in a precarious position just above the pit entrance, so they'll have to get her out of the way. Everyone will bunch up once again. What we thought was going to be a sprint to the finish will become even more serious. And here they come. The green flag flies. And Fittipaldi trying to catch position on Mansell. Is this inexperience for Mansell, giving it over to Fittipaldi? And look at Lyondike as he moves to second place.
Desperate pass by Ari Lyondike, a very good pass. Really got Mansell asleep on that one. Boy, Fittipaldi run through here. Turn two wide open, folks.
That was an inexperienced move by Mansell. He should have gotten on the throttle sooner. If it had been Fittipaldi or Little Al, you can bet they would have.
And here is Nigel Mansell on board, coming off of two. Now watch him. Whoa.
Yeah.
He hit hard enough, Paul and Sam, to get sparks or get fire off the magnesium wheel. Pretty hard hit, so I think he's probably has a good chance it's out of alignment a little bit.
Plus whatever stress damage may exist on that right front wheel and right rear for that matter.
Watch the magnesium right now. Just touch the wall right there. See the flames? That's the magnesium that literally explodes and burns a little bit for a while.
Boy, if you're going to kiss it, though, that's the way to do it. Mansell. Here comes Fittipaldi. Emerson Fittipaldi. The final turn for home, the checkered flag, and Emerson Fittipaldi has won his second Indianapolis 500. Fittipaldi led only the last 16 laps of the race to score Roger Penske's 9th Indianapolis 500 victory. Fittipaldi has won the 500.
Nigel Mansell sets here on the wall. After your first experience at Indianapolis, there was an apology you just offered to Carl Haas. I'm sure it related to how you lost that lead and had that close call against the wall.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've never been here before, and on the restart, I thought I got a good restart, and I just couldn't believe the ground that Emerson and Leindyke made up on me. And I mean, everybody, if you like, cheats on the restart, and I'm trying to do it by the rules because I don't want to infringe any rules. And I lost the lead, obviously, and then there was no way back. And I got close to Harry coming out of turn 2, and then I hit the wall real hard. I mean, I hit the wall at 200 and something mile an hour on the front right and rear right, and I mean, I hurt my wrist and my side a bit, but the car kept going. I couldn't believe it. I mean, then
were you afraid you were going to have to come in and pit because of that?
Hey, I was afraid I was going to be in the wall permanent, but you know, then the yellow flag came out straight away after that, and I was able to do a couple of slow laps and just feel the car and check the car out, because for sure the tracking got altered a little bit on the front. I mean, you can see the outside front tires, but I mean, I'm just happy to have finished. I mean, you know, we perhaps could have won, but I'm very happy for Emerson. I think he drove fantastic, and you know, Harry Leindyke coming second too. I mean, I got the jump on one of the restarts to take the lead anyway, so that's the way it is.
After you bounced the wall, you were down in the rumble strips a couple of times. Was it hard to hang on to?
Hey, I had to be down in the rumble strips because I had altered the front end and I was just pushing understeering too much. I mean, I can tell you, those last few laps, they were agony, but I'm pleased it's over now.
Welcome to Indianapolis.
Thank you very much.
All right, Jack.
And Nigel's looking for any room that he can to get around him, and there he goes. Moving to the inside, darting down, coming in the first turn. Mario's not having any of it.
As they go into the first turn like that, you can see there's a wall over there. So you got to be kind of careful if you're on the outside, that you don't pinch the guy off on the inside into the wall.
Nigel again making a bid, but shut down by Mario, who has won this race 4 times. He's the only multiple winner in the race. Al Unser Jr. has won it once. Otherwise, there are no previous winners other than those 2 men in the race.
On the home stretch, Nigel continues to chase Mario Andretti. Look at his hands. You can see how really rough this track is. When you see that onboard camera, you can see the suspension bounce.
Now there's cold winters here in Wisconsin and Milwaukee. If everybody's wondering why the track, look at all the patches on it. Those are patches with the track people trying to keep it good, but it's the cold winters that gets it here.
This is the same high line that we saw Nigel Mansell using at Indianapolis. Notice he's way outside of Mario in the turn. He wound up in the wall briefly at Indianapolis, bounced right off the turn 2 wall, but so far he's in good shape here.
Fight continues, a fight for 6th place. It's static at the front. Nigel still working on Mario.
Watch Nigel working high and Mario working low. Now, what he's doing is he's trying to plan a pass. He's faking Mario, the traffic like right there, ruined the pass for him. But he's faking it. Look at him going by the outside. That's what he's been planning right down there before. If he can suck Mario down, he goes by the outside, which he just did.
Bobby, he looks like an old veteran oval racer, doesn't he, running that high line?
He does, Sam. Victory for some and not for the others, obviously.
Apparently not for Robbie. Now you're on board with Nigel Mansell. He has Fittipaldi just ahead. Looking ahead of that is Robbie Gordon.
Often, Paul, when guys are getting past, they come to life all of a sudden. A lot like Robbie Gordon was doing there. He's really come to life. And they take different lines through the turn than they've been normally taking. And they find out, hey, it's good. Now look at way out there that Nigel is. Now he's out there testing that right now to see if it's sticking.
Rick Mears and Roger Penske both watching from the pits. Mears now a driver consultant with his team.
Bobby's point is a really good one. When you're bottled up behind traffic, you can test a line to see what's going to work for you when you need it the most. As long as you're not in a position to gain places or time, you can experiment, and Nigel Mansell took full advantage of that opportunity.
So Nigel Mansell now is sailing forward through the field. Still led. Mansell is in front of the field. Raul Boesel is in 2nd place. It happened very quickly, just a few seconds ago. Mansell was just behind, closing, slower traffic. Teo Fabi sitting ahead. They came down alongside of Sullivan. And then suddenly we're able to make a move to the inside. Look at Mansell as he dials down inside Boesel. Boesel's tires are a problem. Another view of the same situation. Nigel Mansell looking for racing room and found it down low on the track and just simply cruised by.
And you can see Boycell slipped. His tires are worn. He slipped out. He got in the marbles. Mansell, on the other hand, was hooked up down low with a lot better tires.
Mansell, now the question is, will he conserve his tires and his fuel in the run to the finish? He, in Formula One, has been typically very aggressive, racing hard to the end, regardless of what kind of a lead he had here. He's starting to, I think, cool it a little bit. He's been slow in this race. There's Mansell. Both men out of Formula One and now into IndyCars.
And remember, Nigel Mansell had a problem coming back to the green flag a week ago at Indianapolis.
And again, he's slow, Paul, as he comes up to the green.
As Boycell looks for room wherever he can. Nigel Mansell holding him off. If Nigel can win here today, he would be the first foreign driver to win at this track since Jimmy Clark in 1963. The same, of course, would be true for Raoul Boycell. The two of them separated now by just a few feet.
Were the race to end this way, Mansell would have a whopping 70 championship points, and Boycell would move into second with 52.
Nigel Mansell takes a look at the white flag. He sends himself down the back straightaway. One straightaway to go now on the backside. Nigel Mansell taking a look down inside of turn number 3, and Mansell can sense that checkered flag ahead. Boycell tries to close in. He can't get the job done, and Nigel Mansell picks up the win. Nigel Mansell's first win on an oval, and he continues his point lead. Congratulations to Newman-Haas in second place. Boycell. Fittipaldi is in third. Bobby Rahal with a fourth place finish. Al Unser Jr. up to fifth, and Scott Brayton comes home in sixth place. So the record. And now they stream toward Jen Swintel's green flag, and here we go. As look at the two Penske cars jump around Nigel Mansell on the start, and we're off and running already. Fittipaldi at the front, followed by Paul Tracy, and now Bobby Rahal comes up to challenge Nigel Mansell as the fight for second place develops. At the same time, a bit of a test between Tracy and Fittipaldi for the lead. You're on board the nose of Bobby Rahal's car. And Nigel Mansell sits in third place. The indication on the official communication channels is that the team manager for number 5, Nigel Mansell, Jim McGee, wants a restart of this race. He's not happy with the way it started. Apparently, they have declined that request as Nigel Mansell continues his pursuit of the two Penske cars.
Well, Paul, the start, as we know, because it's so hard to pass here, is very important. Emerson has more experience with it. He kind of knows what the flagman will let go by and what he won't. But from where we sat, it looked like it was a good start.
Let's take a look at that start again, Bobby, and maybe we can get an idea of what Jim McGee might be concerned with.
Well, you can see Emerson's on the left, Mansell's on the right. And coming down, you see they're still fairly close. Mansell's up there for a little bit, fell back. Emerson had about a car length on him when he started, but look at Tracy going by the outside. Now that's Mansell's fault, not the starter's fault.
Well, you think the argument might be, though, that it seemed that Fittipaldi came to the right and crowded him a little?
No, I don't think so. I think that was really a good start.
A smooth race, keeping Mansell at bay. This is a little different, Paul Tracy, than we're used to. And Mansell, you can see, is the man who's hustling, getting it a little deep in that turn and locking up one of his front wheels.
Now immediately, Sam, he'll reach over and make an adjustment to those brakes. These drivers can adjust their brake balance between the front and the rear by just turning a knob inside the car. He had a little bit too much on the front, and this guy, Mansell, drives him deep into the turn. So he'll just make a little adjustment.
By the Italian driver, Teo Fabi, who a week from now, and there's more action here.
Stefan Johansson still worrying at the back of Mansell's car. Now, Bobby, is that blocking or not?
That's intentional blocking. That's when Wally Dallenbach, in my opinion, ought to come up and say, hey, now that is not the way we race over here.
I think it's gone from being a feint here and there to something that is going on lap after lap.
All the brakes light up with smoke as they chase Mansell into the corner. You're on board the nose of Bobby Rahal's car. Johansson is just ahead, then Mansell just ahead of him. And Mansell is making that car very wide indeed.
They call Mansell the lion. He is a warrior kind of mentality in the car. He's not going to give anything away. But he may be placing himself under more danger right now by blocking and being under attack from Johansson. You saw another move by Johansson than if he did let him by.
That type of blocking that we just saw Mansell do, Paul, about 10, 15 years ago would have brought around a black flag for the car. That brought him in. If he did it again, they would start penalizing him and set him down if they had to.
Well,
that kind of stuff really needs to stop in this type of motor racing.
The view back from Nigel Mansell's car to Johansson.
The idea is that this is fine toward the end of the race when you're defending your position over the last few laps, particularly if you're the leader, but it is frowned on at this stage.
Sam, it's not good anytime. You don't ever block cars. That's how people get hurt in this business.
Now, Allenser Jr. and Bobby Rahal have both been able to close in on Johansson. Remember last year how Rahal just sat back and watched Michael Andretti and Paul Tracy battle, and then when they got locked up in a fight, Rahal just went to the inside. But now Mansell using some very unusual lines to keep Johansson back. Johansson makes a move to the
right there. But what happens is that
there's a bit by
Johansson made a move, and he didn't. But look, he gets into Bobby. Johansson was trying to make a move on Mansell. Moved to the inside. He got shut off. Moved to the outside and into Bobby's wrecked car.
Bobby's car was really blocking a lot of the racetrack right there. The guys don't see it till they get there. Although there are plenty of yellow flags, there's plenty of warning for it.
There had to be plenty of yellows out in front of that, especially with the IndyCar safety vehicle out there. This group of corner workers in Detroit, of course, have dealt with that before. Remember the situation over on the streets?
Mansell is checking his car. Look at this. He's slowed down. 2 cars shot right by him. So I think Mansell has been touched in this proceeding.
We take a look at what really is the end of the situation. Here comes a safety vehicle. Look to the right.
Mansell strikes nothing there. I don't know what the problem with his car could be. It's all involving Johansson and Fabi.
Back to a full course caution. Just mentioning the corner workers again. We were talking to one of the corner stations here. They were the same people that... Flat rear tire on Mansell's car. Let's go to Gary.
You look with the crew, Paul, from the back of the car. They've already changed a destroyed right rear tire. Now Nigel gets back underway. Remember the adversity he had in Australia. He came back and won. Now he's had some real adversity here at Belle Isle. Can he do it again?
Heart rate is typically triple what it would be resting. You might be seeing a heart rate here. Oh,
and Nigel Mansell in trouble. And the full course yellow comes out now. Nigel Mansell climbs out of the car. They go to make sure that he is okay and the car can get off the course. But they are going to a full course yellow. We've got Vassar's car out there. You have Mansell's car. The leaders will close up. Fuel will be saved, and we can sprint to the finish. This is on board with Nigel Mansell. Give us an idea of what happened. Traffic running ahead. Matter of fact, his own teammate just ahead. Whoa! Just pushes out to the wall.
Oh, he hit those marbles. You know, if you just could see what's on that track, it's really dirty. Now watch.
Maybe this will show you.
Yeah. See, Nigel just got out. Look where his track started back there, and you can see got into the marbles. The marbles meaning all those little rubber balls, plus all the dirt that's out there. And he gets into that. There's no adhesion to the tire, and right into the wall he went.
No, he doesn't have fast as that, but he almost has. Stefan is quite happy just to sit there.
Fastest lap now turned by Fittipaldi at 111.5. So Fittipaldi is beginning to pick up the pace and put the pressure on Nigel Mansell. First, second, and third are the battle on the race course. The only true battle at the moment, and they run right together as Roger Penske keeps track of his car. Again, traffic just ahead.
Johnny Unser, but look at Emerson. He pounces again. Now Emerson takes a wider line on the way in, and he tries it again. He's side by side.
Same move that he tried last time. Can he keep it? He goes all the way off into the dirt. Johnny Unser just in front of him. Nigel Mansell may take advantage of that, and Fittipaldi has to drop in behind.
Well, we see it again. Fittipaldi gets traction down to the road better and shoots away, but Mansell knows the piece of road that he wants to use, and he's making things difficult for Emerson, as he is entitled to, because he's leading the race. Now, because of course they had to get a hurried repair job done. Now Mansell is under pressure here.
And Fittipaldi moves way wide as they come into the first corner. Looking for racing room. Mansell loses control, locks it up, comes off into the chicane area. Fittipaldi goes into the lead. Mansell's car should be undamaged. They try to get that cone out from under the wing, and now he should be able to go ahead. Coming straight through the chicane. He's supposed to stop there. The ruling was there was supposed to be a lengthy stop of perhaps as many as 10 seconds. He did not do that. We'll see how the officials react to that one. But Mansell, of course, wanted to get back in pursuit just as fast as he could.
And you could see it beginning to unfold as he accelerated out of turn 9. He moved to the center of the road, then he moved to the right. Emerson had to go down the outside, and Mansell was off the clean line with the good grip, locked up the brakes, and had no recourse except to sail through the chicane and catch. Now this is where it unfolded. Look at this. Mansell moves to the inside. He's entitled to do that. He's not changing his line. Emerson goes down the outside. Now Mansell is on the gray. That's it. He locks up the rear brakes, catches the marker cone. Now watch his hand. Look at his hand. Look, look. He's saying to the official, get rid of that marker cone as soon as possible. I'm out of here.
Is to change tires. Now here is Nigel Mansell in. Will he go over to the slicks? That's a very real possibility, Gary Gerald.
Indeed it is, Paul. Tommy Wirtz waves him into position. Nigel was on the radio, said he wants the dry tires. Here he is. We'll see if they change it. The air guns begin to chatter. He gambled earlier because he stayed out on the slicks, almost the longest of any driver. But here he is now going to the slicks, the first man to do so. It's still very wet out there. Will this pay off or will it backfire for the points leader?
So a gamble and a great one for Nigel Mansell as he comes back into the fight.
Well, this is what you call going for it all, because it is such a risk now to go onto slicks. But you see the race leader Emerson Fittipaldi here. This will be a great judge for Mansell just how quickly he is going relative to somebody on wet weather tires. Easily goes down the inside, Fittipaldi does, but a big gamble by Mansell. It's the reverse of what he tried to do earlier. He's gambling that the line will dry significantly between now and the end of the race.
And of course that comparison right there doesn't really tell, because he also came out of the pits on very cold tires.
Cold tires. Cold slicks on a damp, wet track like this can be a nightmare.
They call him the Lion. And boy, look at him as he takes this gamble, trying to keep his points dominance in the PPG IndyCar World Series. With his pole, he moved to 4 points ahead. But now he wants to do everything he can to close on Fittipaldi and come away still as the points leader in this series.
And he daren't get offline here, because as long as he can stay on that relatively dry patch, he will be okay. But when he comes to make a pass on somebody, he has to move offline. Now on the front straight here, it's no problem. But watch how slick it will be when he gets into the festival curves here and he goes onto the concrete patch. Oh, real ginger, real slow, nice and delicate.
Even if Nigel can maintain his current position, he could leave this track with a 13-point lead in the points fight. Understand, tell the drivers, along with yellow flags standing at every corner, that they are going to full course yellow. That means that everyone slows down. The pace car will come out.
And you can see that Mansell did get up to and pass Paul Tracy. Watch what happens here. This was just a couple of minutes ago. Tries to pass Vassar, almost gets off the road, waves his fist. Mario goes by, and Paul Tracy is now right up behind.
Hiro Matsushita is sitting off the edge of the race course.
It's going to be incredible to watch Mansell here. Now, Jan mentioned it earlier. As soon as the flag goes green at the starter stand, if Mansell's back here on the back straight, he can start racing immediately and start passing.
So the field now somewhat cumbersome, moves through the corner, varying braking speeds here. And now they can begin to pick up the throttle as they watch for the green flag. There it is. The pace car comes down the pit area. Fittipaldi accelerates, looking back for Nigel. Way over to the inside of the course. He looks for position.
He's got one.
Mario lets him through.
He's got two. Now he's behind Lyondike. Needs to get by him as soon as possible.
And Lyondike will be tough. You have to tiptoe here because just offline it's still very wet.
Okay,
look at this.
He's got four. He's got 5 cars. Almost 5 cars. He got 4.
Briard came off the course at the end of the corner because it was still slick there.
Oh, that was touch and go there. Mansell got a tremendous acceleration boost, then it all suddenly funneled down.
Let's check in with some more unfolding information on pit road with my colleague Gary Gerald.
Jack, couple of key concerns. It's already been mentioned, the heat and the roughness or the bumps on the circuit. But 2 key drivers, Nigel Mansell and Stefan Johansson, have got to contend with another big factor. Both of them are driving with sprained right wrists, suffered in fluke accidents yesterday. Mansell, going to a post-qualifying news conference, stumbled on the stairs, fell, and he hurt the right wrist. X-rays disclosed no fracture. There was discomfort, however. He was fast in this morning's session, but he's got to run 200 miles, not just a handful of laps in the warm-up. Johansson's go
to the end of the world. They can try any line that they like, and a lot of different ones seem to work.
And we saw a lot of different lines going into turn 1 at the beginning of the race.
Well, take a look here as we watch back at the front of the field. The Penske cars battle. 3 different lines going into the corner, and now Paul Tracy comes up to challenge with Nigel Mansell. He gets alongside him on the lakeside straight. Now the power pours on from that Chevrolet engine, and he gets past. But here comes Mansell back with a challenge as they come into the chicane. Both of the cars bouncing over the bumps there. Mansell hot in pursuit as they head out toward the east end.
Well, Tracy did a good job on that because he got underneath him and blocked him. He knew there was a right-hand turn coming up. He blocked Mansell where Mansell was helpless for a little while. So he had to give away and go to second place.
Okay, you used the word block. Legal block or one that they may question?
No, that was a good pass. That was a good, honest pass. And I know everybody's getting a little confused because Cart can't seem to make up their minds what blocky or what is blocky, what isn't, Paul. But that was a good, honest pass, and I didn't mean it to sound like it was anything.
Well, let me take a shot at the definition. You tell me if I'm wrong. Steering wheel off. No indication as to what this problem might be.
But when they unplug that steering, whoa!
Quick off and on, but it's Mario. He got it on, and he gets locked up with his teammate. Look at Fittipaldi slips to the outside. And Nigel and Fittipaldi close together once again, but Mario almost a key factor in that one.
And that's exactly where we saw Mario have problems earlier. The same turn in and around where that cone is lying in the middle of the track.
Now here comes Fittipaldi challenging inside of Nigel Mansell. They come through the corner side by side. 2 great champions in their continuing fight. Boy, look at that run.
That's the best piece of driving we've seen all day long. Went through those turns side by side. You can see Mansell out there just raising up all the dust. He couldn't have had any traction. Emo didn't think he'd make it, but he did. Mansell is quite a driver.
What kind of trust are we talking about between these 2 guys to be able to do that?
Well, there's a lot of trust. These 2 guys are, of course, 2 of the finest in the entire world, and they just trust each other. But the fact is, it still shouldn't have made it, Paul.
Mansell and Fittipaldi split him and came around, and that put them back head-to-head. We can take a look at that situation again right now while these 2 continue to trace one another. Now keep an eye. Here they were heading down toward the east loop. Now look at Fittipaldi. He moves inside. Mansell decides I'll stay outside. But unlike the last time they tried it, Fittipaldi sweeps right in there.
Boy, he just stayed on it a lot harder. He got a bigger bite on him going into the turn, and he just got a lot more speed during the turn. So Mansell couldn't stay up alongside. But Mansell tried the same thing again that he did the last time.
Wallinger Jr., who's had his ups and downs today and fell back to 13th before he pulled the car aside.
And just so everybody knows,
here comes Mansell again as he charges with Fittipaldi, and Mansell gets past Fittipaldi. This battle for second is not going to quit. Now look at Fittipaldi. He cuts inside that cone, looks for a little straighter line onto the lakeside straight, and tries to get alongside Mansell. It's a right-hander ahead. He can't get him there, but he can set up perfectly for their run through the east loop.
Now that was obvious that Emo didn't see that coming. Mansell snuck up on him. Not that that should be allowed. Emo's too professional, but he did not see that coming. And there was some lap cars involved. So Mansell, being the smart guy that he is, saw the lap cars ahead. He went for it. There's Scott Braden with obviously a blown engine right there. Remember we said that this race is going to take tolls. It's hot. It's going to take tolls a lot of things. So there's 2 engines already blown, Paul.
And right here in the closing laps, now sitting just ahead of the battle for second place is the 11 car. That is Kevin Kogan in the Conseco car. But the 2 cars battling for second place are right there and now mixing in traffic. Looked like Kogan came off the edge of the course as the leaders came past, or a second place battle came past. And Fittipaldi now puts his nose ahead, and he can't hold on to it. Kevin Kogan got back into the fight fairly quickly, though. Here's again, Fittipaldi moves, and Mansell comes to the outside. Now Mansell diving unconventional line into the corner. He gets Fittipaldi, but take a look at Fittipaldi. He moves back outside.
Boy, you don't see these guys race any harder than that. They're really...
This is terrific. Look at this side by side. Whoa! 2 world champions battling it out here in Cleveland. Fantastic.
That's the best you see right there, Sam. That's good racing.
Fight continues, second place. Fittipaldi in second now. Mansell chasing. pit straight, heading for the first turn once again.
Well, if there's anything, look at that. Here comes Mansell again, and he passed him again. Now, if there's anything wrong with Mansell's right wrist, tell me where it shows up.
Well, 7 laps to go. There's no reason to hold back in any respect.
They're passing each other 2 and 3 times a lap, Sam.
And it's a serious battle as far as the points championship is concerned. Mansell wanting to extend his lead over Fittipaldi. Fittipaldi very eager to cut it down.
So Mansell and Fittipaldi battle for second, as Paul Tracy runs at the front in the closing laps of this race. We'll be back after this message and a word from your ABC stations.
Well, we're taking a look at Nigel Mansell as he's getting the congratulations of Carl Haas, Paul Newman, Stan Barrett. Nigel, a very spirited run all afternoon.
Yeah, it was great. The team worked fantastic. I'm afraid I gave the car all I could give. I think everyone could see the Penske was using a little less road than what I was, and it was very tough out there. We had a real exciting fight for second place. I'm disappointed but happy at the same time. We got a great finish, and all credit to the Newman-Haas team and all the great sponsors we have.
What about the wrist? You heard it yesterday.
Yeah, it's killing me now, but I mean, what the heck? I mean, the race is over now, so I don't have to worry about it.
And lots of points for the championship.
Yeah, but I'd like to have finished ahead of Mo. He's got a bit closer, but there's a long way to go yet, and it was a great race.
Paul?
Third place, Nigel Mansell. He only has a week to rest that wrist before he heads off to Toronto along with the rest of the IndyCar drivers. We'll have coverage there for it.
When the IndyCars began their series of road races in June at Detroit, Nigel Mansell had a commanding points lead, and one would presume because his background is road racing that he would extend that lead. Well, it simply hasn't happened. And during practice and qualifying here at Toronto, he's crashed more on this weekend than any other weekend in his career. And 2 of those accidents, nearly identical in the first turn, have caused damage to his race car. Added to that, he still has a visibly swollen wrist from his accident last week in Cleveland. And so there's the very real possibility that for the second time in the year, Nigel Mansell may lose the points lead, and it might happen here.
Now, you got a glimpse there of the back end of Nigel Mansell's car with some sort of vapor or smoke showing at the back of the car, and he is definitely off the pace.
The Newman-Haas team has had a remarkable reliability record so far this year. Were Mansell to retire, it would be the first time a mechanical failure has sidelined him.
Well, this guy is normally so fast. I think everybody has to wonder, why is he running so slow? And especially on a road circuit where he is one of the masters of all time.
Hey, Bobby, the way things stand right this minute with Nigel in trouble, Emerson Fittipaldi tentatively leads the PPG IndyCar Championship with 108 points to Mansell's 107. That's if the race ended right this minute.
The real question I have, though, is this problem appeared several turns before the pit entrance, and Nigel drove right on past the pit entrance and stayed out on the racetrack. So we'll continue to keep an eye on Nigel Mansell, as we will on the front of the field, led by Emerson Fittipaldi. At number 5, Nigel Mansell, and Gary Gerould is there.
2 things immediately. Bodywork burning on the right rear. They quickly douse it with water. That doesn't appear to be a major problem. Nigel has been complaining about losing boost. Now it looks like this is anything but a routine stop. The engine has been shut off. They're going to take some of the rear bodywork off. And boy, that championship points lead, major jeopardy right now. Mansell indicating he doesn't know just what the situation is and what he's going to do. We'll wait with the crew and find out.
Well, most likely, Gary, what they're going to find is they've got a leak in the exhaust system. The panel burning, whatever's burning back there, is definitely causing some sort of a problem. And so that's going to be the root of where the problem's coming from. Could be an exhaust pipe broken.
If he stays in the pits, he could finish no better than 20th place as we look at the interval leaderboard. Mansell's worst finish this season, if you discount the fact that he didn't race at Phoenix at all, was 15th at Detroit when he crashed late in the day. So this could have a definite impact on the season battle for the PPG Cup.
It's at Michigan exactly a year later.
Back at the front of the field, Nigel Mansell has now closed up. Using the traffic on Mario Andretti, he comes way high into the corner, gets alongside Mario. Mario has the better line of
this point, but look at Nigel Mansell. This is a rookie on a super speedway. He figured it out in about 3 laps of practice.
Well, Paul, one thing I've been noticing on Mario, his last 3 laps ago was 2:16, then 2:14. His last lap was 2:10. Now, some of that's in traffic, but Nigel has caught him from way back, probably 100 yards back, to where now he should pull away. So Mario definitely has some sort of a problem.
Both of them pull high to come through the traffic now. Nigel Mansell picks up the lead here in Michigan for the first time, the first lead change in the race today. 28 laps are complete very shortly. They'll start thinking about the pit stops. But Nigel Mansell is in front, and we have had green flag right from the start of this race. So the Michigan 500 is very fast at 217 miles an hour. We'll be back after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
To try and determine what can they do as a crew.
Worst case scenario.
And gearbox problems on a super speedway. Pit stops become critical and costly.
And of course, Jack, the worst case scenario is they'll stall it. Look at Mansell fly.
That's right. Unbelievable. Traffic puts the race car anywhere he wants. Only 2 cars on the leader lap. Nigel Mansell and his teammate Mario Andretti. Everybody else is at least a lap back. So red number 5, Nigel Mansell, makes the turn onto the 4th turn now, and this time around he should see the white flag. There it is, 2 miles, 1 more lap to go. Will this make up for the Indianapolis 500? Certainly not in purse, but it may prove something both to Nigel and to his fans. He can indeed win at 500 miles. On the backstretch, just 1 mile to go now. Nigel Mansell on his way to his 3rd win as a rookie. He's won on a road course. He's won on a mile oval. And now as he turns toward home, Nigel Mansell has won on a super speedway and won the Michigan 500.
Quite a good job by Nigel all day long.
And a 1-2 finish for Newman-Haas as Mario Andretti flashes across the line in 2nd place. Ari Lyondike turns for home in 3rd place. Raul Boisel in 4th. And Scott Goodyear still occupying 5th that he just took away from Teo Fox.
Just typical. Once you get the adrenaline and it starts to settle, you come into victory lane, it all begins to fall around you. But Nigel, first of all, I know you're exhausted, but congratulations. 500-mile victory, you're first.
Just fantastic, and all credit to the team. The team did just a fantastic job, and I lost a lot of my readouts on the dashboard, and I was relying very strongly on the team and Jim McGee to give me the information, and I'm just so happy. It's a fantastic victory for all the sponsors, but I tell you, I don't mind admitting I'm bushed, I'm tired.
This is only the 2nd 500-miler for you. Is this more exhausting than your outing at Indianapolis?
I've never felt so rough. Personally, I feel real tired, and you know, the track's a great track, but it does, as Mario said, it does beat you down, and I'm beat now.
Well, you've run practically every great world racing facility, the current world driving champion. How does a 500-mile race now compare to your efforts in Formula One in the past?
I've never been in anything like it in my life, and I'd like to congratulate Roger Penske on this. You know, the layout of the circuit is fantastic. It's so different to Indianapolis. It stands on its own. I mean, 2 great 500-milers, and I'm just happy I won this one.
And you got the points lead back.
Yeah, that's all credit to the team. I mean, the team just did a wonderful, wonderful job.
Well, a little bit of a cloud cover has come over. We're going to let you try and get your stamina back. Congratulations, Nigel. Let's check in with my colleague Gary Gerald with more news.
Indeed, here's Ari Lyondike.
That Mansell by, because remember, that puts him another lap down.
And they all have traffic to handle just in front of them. Stefan Johansson now in front of Roberto Guerrero.
Oh, there's a big traffic jam now. Look at Guerrero. Mansell tries to come down the inside.
And here comes Tracy. Tracy comes up to challenge Fittipaldi on the outside. They split around a slower car. Tracy comes into 2nd place now. He dives for the lead alongside of Mansell. And Paul Tracy in a lap comes 3rd to the lead.
It's not over yet. Look at Mansell.
Mansell tucks his nose in, moves to the inside. Again, Roberto Guerrero a factor. Paul Tracy maintains the higher crew.
Well, and one fell swoop
Oh, look at this, look at this. Emerson now tries to put a lap on Guerrero.
Tracy moves around Guerrero. Mansell still moving up high on him. Fittipaldi still close.
There is such close wheel-to-wheel racing. When you're lapping people here in ovals, you have to be so careful not to move offline. But
back at the New England 200, 175 laps of 200 complete, and Nigel Mansell is on the move. He just moved around Emerson Fittipaldi. Now he sets his sights on Paul Tracy, and Paul Tracy is just a little under a straightaway ahead. And now they are in contact as he moves around Johansson. It is clear sailing up to Tracy. Here is the move that got Mansell into second place.
Now watch what happens here. Mansell goes down below the yellow line. Right there, he's on the pit road. Now he drifts high. Fittipaldi's stuck. Mansell has a head of steam on right here. He acts right up onto Fittipaldi's wing and slices down the inside into three. A great move by Nigel Mansell.
He comes up high, keeps the car rolling. Still a cracked lens on his car, but the rest of the car running perfectly as he runs in second place, 1.3 seconds behind Paul Tracy. That's a little under a straightaway.
Oh, look at this. Tracy around the outside of Ray Hall.
And encounters Scott Brayton running a little slower just ahead. Brayton locked in with Mashusta. And he's passed, so is Mansell.
Oh, but look at this now. Mansell is right behind him. There's Ray. Oh, he gets so close. Had to back right off or he would have hit Nigel Mansell.
Brayton runs in sixth place. Guerrero is fourth. Gordon is fifth. 10 laps to go now. This is the fight that's at the front, and now here comes Mansell making a bid as he blocks Tracy up in behind Scott Brayton, and he gets beside him, he gets alongside. But now Brayton comes down and Tracy regains the lead.
This is oval track racing at its best. Mansell tried to use the traffic, almost pulled it off, but Tracy saw where his opportunity was going to come around the outside of Brayton. Mansell now loses the toe.
Battle broken off again. But Mansell has proven several times now that he is capable of moving in.
We have more traffic coming up. Paul Tracy is about to get up behind Alonso Jr. and Willie T. Ribbs. So there is more traffic going to play a hand in this lead battle.
So Nigel Mansell continues his pursuit and tries to close on Tracy. We'll be right back. 200 as Paul Tracy continues to hold off Nigel Mansell. Emerson Fittipaldi waits and watches in third place, about 2 seconds back.
Al Jr. needs to stay high. He needs to stay high. He does. Both of them get down the inside. There's more traffic, though. Brian Till is now just ahead of this lead pair.
Fight for the lead continues. Fight for championship points. A fight that can move Paul Tracy into third place in the championship points battle.
Pressure is on. The pressure is on Paul Tracy. This will be his finest win, probably because of the relentless pressure from Nigel Mansell. He still chases him down.
He has 5 laps to chase him down and pass. What a 40th birthday present this would be for Nigel Mansell. His second oval win, a continuing lead in the points. He'll leave here with a point lead no matter what happens.
Look at this. Tracy protects that line. Mansell is right behind him again. Look at this.
And Mansell swings to the outside. Tracy down low. They dart in and out. They use the advantage of Stefan Johansson, and Mansell takes the lead.
Now Tracy's in trouble because he has to make all the risky moves now. Mansell gets caught just a little bit. Tracy's going to get a run on Mansell. He'll block him.
Tracy makes his move to the outside. Very close together they come as they head down into the first turn. But Tracy stays in second place.
Tracy seems to have more grip on the inside groove down here at turns 3 and 4.
Tracy again looking for an opportunity. There's not that much time left, just 2 laps to go.
Well, if Mansell pulls this off, it will be a tremendous victory, by far his best yet, because he outboxed everybody, waited for all that time before he pounced, and Emerson is not a factor.
Moving for the final lap now. Traffic moves out of the way. Tracy tries to close. Mansell runs flat out into the first corner. No traffic ahead. He pulls away from Tracy, going through the second corner on the backstretch now. Heading for the third turn. Nigel Mansell makes the turn in. Tracy has little or no opportunity at this point. And here he comes. Happy 40th birthday, Nigel Mansell.
That was as good closing 20 laps of an oval track race as I have seen. Congratulations to Mansell. A tremendous battle with Paul Tracy.
And you can see that those two definitely enjoyed it as they waved to one another, and Mansell scores his third straight oval win. Nigel Mansell takes the win here in New England. He climbs the hill for the final time today in the Texaco Haviland 200. And Paul Tracy acknowledges the checker and takes the win. Watching for Nigel Mansell now. His wife happy with that one, of course. Here comes Mansell. Final set of corners. Already he waves at the workers of one of the corner stations. Not in contest with anyone. He climbs the hill. The checkered flag waits for Nigel Mansell, who will continue his point lead by 31 PPG points over Emerson Fittipaldi.
He suspected going into this race that it would be very, very difficult to beat Paul Tracy in that Penske, so he had to go into point scoring mode because this championship is so important to him.
And here on methanol and not a petrochemical, it makes a lot of good horsepower. It's very friendly to the engine as well because it helps cool the engine, helps prevent detonation, and as you suggest, is friendly to the environment. On board, Nigel Mansell. Mansell runs in 9th place. And his teammate Mario just ahead.
I'm telling you, this is a great, great fight here. We have traffic. That was Jeff Wood. We saw him move over to let the leaders by. Look what Mario does. Goes down the straight on the right-hand side. Oh, and he locks it up. Look at him.
Almost loses it. He still closes on Teo Fabi, who sits just ahead of him in 7th place.
You could.
Then Fittipaldi, then Bosell. They're all right together on this circuit.
The only thing you missed there is you didn't smell the smoke burning from Mario's tires, but you saw everything that Mansell sees. First he locked the fronts, then he locked the rears, and almost threw the car into the concrete wall.
Well, you also didn't hear what wonderful British comment Mansell may have made to himself at that moment.
Yes, yeah.
And Italian that maybe Mario uttered.
These drivers are on the limit all the time, even if they're fighting for the first two positions or 9th or 10th.
We look at
is that the Lola car is very hard to find that balance. In the words of Chip Ganassi team manager Tom Anderson, he says there's no such thing as a balanced 93 Lola. It's an oxymoron. They don't go together. It's only degrees of understeer and oversteer. It looks like the Newman-Haas crew just doesn't quite have the setup. They're giving it everything they have, but right now just not the right setup for this course.
And Al Unser Jr.'s position now 4.3 seconds ahead of Bobby Rahal with 6 laps to go.
Paul, 6 times this year, Nigel Mansell has picked up one of those precious bonus points for getting the pole position. Perhaps none as significant as the one he earned yesterday in the final 3 minutes of qualifying. By 0.14 of a second, he bumped Paul Tracy from the pole. Nigel getting ready to climb into the cockpit of the car right now. Nigel, the quick word that we have for you, do you play it conservative and go for the championship today, or because it's so tough to pass here, go all out for the win from the pole position?
I think to keep it exciting, we'll just let everybody wait and see.
Well, indeed, it will be very exciting. He settles in. He'll be strapped in. A couple of things to keep in mind. The 4 times he's won this year, starting in Australia. Then, of course, Milwaukee, Michigan, New Hampshire, all venues where he had no previous racing experience. He's had the luxury of 2 test sessions here at Mid-Ohio. He's obviously put it to excellent use. Now he settles in. He gets ready for 200 miles and a chance to clinch the championship. Paul?
Well, Gary, Nigel Mansell can make history today and become the first rookie in the 82-year history of the IndyCars to become the PPG Cup champion and also back it to his World Formula One title. But how does he do that? Well, let's take a look at the way the points are distributed right now. Nigel Mansell quite simply stated, and there are a number of scenarios, but in its simplest form, if he leaves here 45 points ahead of anyone else, then he takes the PPG Cup here at Mid-Ohio. Now, he's already earned a point for the pole, and let's remind ourselves of how many points are awarded for each position, because this is going to be a critical balance throughout the afternoon. And so now they begin to align over on the backside of the course. The field in the control now of Nigel Mansell, the pole sitter. Paul Tracy very expectant alongside as we are ready for a race that could, in fact, decide the IndyCar championship. With a surge of acceleration, the green flag comes out, and we're already running at Mid-Ohio as it gets very crowded down to the first right-hander. Paul Tracy sweeps to the outside. Boisel closes in and battles with Fittipaldi. One car spins. Second car goes for the inside. Mike Croft already off there. And that's created some confusion in the field. And look at Nigel. Look at Nigel. What's the problem there?
Very, very slow. We saw the contact. Look at Rahal charge up inside Mansell. Mansell's in trouble. He must be on his way to the pit lane. No front wings on that car.
The one thing that Mansell could not afford to have happen here today may indeed have come to pass. Danny Sullivan also rolling to a stop on the race course. So contact, we go to a full course yellow immediately at the conclusion of the first lap here with Nigel Mansell, the focus of the day, in trouble, and he's hit something very hard.
He has. The front suspension is damaged on that car. We saw the left side. Johansson is involved in it. He has a flat left rear tire. Perhaps 3-1 did not go.
Well, there were several compressions heading down. There's a right-hand bend and then a solid right-hander. The Newman-Haas team already prepared for the arrival of Nigel Mansell so they can go to work on the car. He is on the pit road now. Scott Pruitt is coming out just ahead of him. By the way, Scott Pruitt in the car that was originally scheduled for John Paul Jr. Gary Gerald is there to watch Mansell's arrival.
Paul, we can see that one of the suspension arms on the left front as he comes to a stop is badly damaged. They shut off the engine. The crew immediately came out with a new nose, and they will attempt to repair the nose. But whether or not they can make the suspension change so that they can have any handling of this car is a very, very big question. There may not be clinching a championship in this pit today.
Now the crew going to work. We were going to look and see if we could see what they were doing from the onboard camera. We cannot. It's not on the side of the car that matters. But Derek, that looks fairly serious, though they're going to try and change it.
And they will have it changed pretty quickly. Remember, they need to get back out before the pace car comes around to stay on this lead lap. That's what they will attempt to do.
The Gallus team has heard from Danny Sullivan. He was not involved in an incident. The car just quit. They're hoping he can be towed back here. They have spark boxes and electronic battery and so on ready to go on Sullivan's car right now. No fire for Sullivan.
Okay, Jan Beekes, now we need some of your expertise from the drivers' meeting. Nigel Mansell roared out of the pits just as the pace car was coming past. He has now passed the pace car and looks like he's going to try to make up that full lap and join the field staying on the same lap. Perhaps you can tell us in a moment, Jan Beekes, exactly what the rule's going to be there, but Gary Gerald has this.
Well, we just wanted to make sure that you were aware of the fact that he did get out. They got the nose changed. They tried to handle a bent steering arm in the left front suspension. We'll see how the car handles, but I think that question of position is going to be a significant one because it appeared from our vantage point when he rocketed from the pits that the pace cars had already gone by.
Gary, that steering arm that you mentioned, the good teams have those preset. They don't have to adjust the steering. They literally undo the two bolts, drop the new steering arm in, and they know the steering is set up as the original one was. So Mansell can have confidence in this car.
All right, Jan Beekes, what is the rule on the blend? Can Mansell do what he's doing now?
Paul, we can't see a monitor, so we don't know if he beat the pace car or not. If you have a replay, look for that blend line. It's a yellow line. He has to beat the pace car to that blend line. If not, he's going to have to go back that whole lap.
Well, we could just see the end of it as Mansell made a dash scramble to try and get out ahead of that pace car. Here it is. Look, he's even in the dirt, but he is behind the blend line. So because of this, he will have to get behind that pace car. In fact,
they come off the keyhole. They are aligned. They're looking for the green. Let's listen to the motor. There's the green.
You can hear the wheel spin as Mansell jumped away, but watch Tracy. There's the key move there. There's the hit. That was it.
And that Mansell immediately starts slowing. That gets all the rest of the field compressed up behind him. But with that slow, there's Scott Goodyear looking for room. Mansell wisely gets out of the way. And they're back in the pits working on that car, Gary. So they continue to work on Nigel Mansell's car, trying to get him back in the fight because he needs every point that he can garner today at Mid-Ohio.
Back at Mid-Ohio, yellow flag still being displayed around the circuit. Nigel Mansell back in the pits. The first time in, they got the new nose on. They couldn't change the steering arm. They're in the process of changing the steering arm right now. Engine shut down. We can see the field coming up the hill on the front straightaway. They will put another lap on Mansell now as he sets here in the pits. So a disastrous start for the man who is dominating the championship point standings, who had hoped to clinch a championship today. They still hope to get him back out there, but he's now going to be significantly down to the field, Paul.
And of course, a number of incidents that led up to this first lap situation, Derek.
Watch this. Mansell's left front suspension is broken. Look at Leyendyke. Clips the front wings off of Mansell's car. He was already on his way to the pit lane anyway. That just lengthened that pit stop.
And the crew going to work on that car still in the pits.
He's a bit helpless here because he really can't get out of people's way. And Leyendyke being pursued there by Mario, you can see that clearly, just nips the front wing. There you go. There's the debris.
So a disaster here in the first lap for Nigel Mansell in his bid for a championship, but the Newman-Haas team is continuing to work on that car to get it back into competition and hopefully get a point or two before the day is over. Chases Goodyear. We watch Nigel Mansell answering the black flag, coming in for his stop-and-go penalty.
And this just continues to go downhill for Mansell. All the mechanical problems, all caused by two cars wanting that small piece of ground in turn one, and all this trouble happens. But now he's going to be in a real fight.
And Mansell rejoins in the middle of the field, 2 laps behind in 25th position. Gary Gerald.
Paul, a very frustrated Nigel Mansell, obviously on the radio, very concerned about we need the points. He wanted to know what's the point of having to make this stop and go now. Tom Wirtz, his lead mechanic, said the repair work all looks good, but of course it took plenty of time. That's the major concern.
Paul Tracy just blistered a lap off at 114.6 miles an hour. That's by almost a full mile an hour faster than anybody else on the course. We're continuing to monitor this battle that goes on between Nigel Mansell and Robbie Gordon. This was just a few laps ago. Look at how hard they are both fighting.
This is a tremendous fight here. Now Mansell still tries to go around the outside. Right here, look. He gives up right there. Here he is again. He gets down the inside. And finally, after 5 laps, now, we're only speculating that Goodyear, having had to run 31 laps on that last tank of fuel, may have to short shift. But look at Mansell. He may be about to get back one of his laps. Look at this here, over the curve. Why would he try something like that?
Mansell, as he closed on Fittipaldi, jumped the curve. That's Olivier Briard just behind him, not in contention in this fight. It's not truly a fight in any way for position here. It is simply Mansell trying to unlap himself from Emerson Fittipaldi. Briard runs in 17th place right now, 2 laps behind the lead. Mansell runs in 15th and is trying to get back to a mere lap behind the lead of the race.
Yesterday, practice and qualifying was rained out, and so they are lined up in order of the point standings with Nigel Mansell on the pole. Let's go trackside and Gary Gerald.
Final instructions for Nigel Mansell. Unlike the 6 other times that he started on the pole this year, no bonus point this time because there was no official qualifying session due to the inclement weather. But there are a couple of things that make Nigel Mansell a very happy man nonetheless today, Paul. Most notably, yesterday he announced signing a new multi-year agreement with Newman-Haas Racing. He's going to be back in IndyCars for at least the next 2 seasons. Now keep in mind a couple of things here. Minimum track time for everybody. Yet Mansell had a test session here last month. He was very, very fast, close to the track track record. He was extremely quick in the session this morning, so the confidence level is high. And even though his championship lead was carved from 35 points to 14 last week at Mid-Ohio, there is the opportunity to clinch the title again today.
In the track when they moved it over from what used to be a dirt track to the asphalt oval and tri-oval that it is now. That warm-up lane on the inside, by the way, is an idea of Rick Mears, and a very good one. You notice it was copied at the Indianapolis Speedway this year. Now here we go. And the green comes out this time. As Nigel Mansell drops back a bit, Tracy comes sweeping around, and the Penske cars lead this race going into the first corner. Now moving to the back stretch. Mansell sits back in third.
Tracy was the one that got a superb jump to go outside Nigel Mansell, but look at this.
Mansell looking for any room he can on Tracy, and he's fighting with him. That's a bit of a surprise. When I saw him drop back early, certainly no direct intent of Mansell, I thought, well, maybe he's just going to play it cozy here on the first lap. But then he comes up to challenge Tracy, and now Bosell comes up to challenge Mansell. By the way, runs in 5th right now. Ray Hall is 6th. 7th is Scott Goodyear. In 8th is Robbie Gordon, followed by Eddie Cheever and Mario Andretti.
One of Mansell's strongest points, and we saw it in oval track races earlier this year. He is superb in traffic. Whoa. Look at this. Matt Schuster gets a shake of the fist from Mansell. Mansell was going to go outside, realized he couldn't do it, inside couldn't do it. Shake of the fist, and away he goes.
Schuster here in the early laps has been running right down the middle of the track. That kind of move has occurred more than once. Now it's occurred with Mansell, and Mansell was not at all happy with it. By the way, Raul, at the Bosch Spark Plug Grand Prix, Nigel Mansell was able to mount a challenge on Emerson Fittipaldi and get around into second. Now he is beginning to challenge Paul Tracy. So here is a fight for the lead, and look at him dial inside of Tracy. The crowd comes to their feet and begins to cheer as Mansell comes into the lead.
What a move by Mansell. He is so decisive. Now he's outside of Mario Andretti, his teammate.
Mario. He just completely blows an identical car right into the weeds.
Mario obviously is not happy with that car. We hear it is loose. That is the driver's nightmare here. He is loose. But Mansell's car is exceptional at this stage of the race. He did set fastest lap of the race at a 20.8. But the two Penske cars are in trouble after 48 laps.
Brian Till has come into the pits because he's been complaining his car is loose. Mario Andretti just headed down pit road as well. I guess that pass by Mansell convinced him. But every time Mansell makes a pass down the front straightaway, all of the crowd just comes to their feet and begins to cheer. Let's go back and take a look at what put him in this position. Here was Mansell challenging Fittipaldi.
Tries to go outside, gets a great run. Now look, from in-car down the inside under braking, and Fittipaldi has nothing to do except allow him to go by. Within 2 laps, he attacked Paul Tracy, which you see right here. Same favorite position down the inside under braking. Wasn't able to pull it off, but boy, did he get a run. Watch this here. Now watch the weaving. Look, look, look. Weaves trying to make sure he lines the car up for turn 1. Decisive moves, passing both Penskes within the space of 2 laps.
And with Mansell doing that and now looking back from his car to the rest of the field, Mansell gains 4 points and now leads by 18 points over Emerson Fittipaldi. Paul Tracy.
And this is a great battle here again, but earlier on, to give you an idea how fast things happen here and how frustrated drivers get, watch this. That's Robbie Gordon ahead of Nigel Mansell. Mansell tries to make the move down the inside and doesn't pull it off. Watch this.
The move would put Gordon a lap down.
Got the chop, and Mansell is saying to the flagman, wave the blue, move over, flag at Gordon. I want to get by.
He should see a white flag next time around. A white flag not only on this race, but now less than a mile to the IndyCar Championship. Paul Tracy got around Gordon, and Tracy now sits in 3rd, the position that Fittipaldi wishes he had.
There's the traffic jam there that includes Tracy, but Emerson is the key. He cannot get close enough to Gordon to make a difference to have Tracy help him.
The final lap now being run at Nazareth, and there is the checkered flag for Nigel Mansell. The Kmart Haviland Lola takes the win, and in doing so takes the IndyCar Championship.
A piece of history in the making here. Paul Tracy pulls alongside, gives a wave of congratulations to Mansell. Paul Newman accepting the congratulations from his team members, reaches up to say thank you to Carl Haas for yet another great and successful championship season, this time with their new rookie. He can now, without any question, take any rookie stripes that may be around anywhere off, because he goes from rookie to champion. Nigel Mansell. And already they've got the hats out, Gary.
Here's Paul Newman down here exchanging greetings with Carl Haas. Paul, can we get a quick word as we congratulate you and this team on an IndyCar championship?
It's an extraordinary year. My hat's off to him.
Can you believe how this guy adapted to the ovals?
Really extraordinary. Awesome.
And I guess the great thing is you've got him back for a couple more seasons.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Well, we're going to have some awful good racing next year.
Forward to it. Congratulations. All right.
Nigel Mansell rolls into the winner's circle, taking the race in the Bosch Spark Plug Grand Prix and taking the championship as they wave the Union Jack here in Nazareth. Bring it down.
Indeed, at Victory Lane, Nigel Mansell has been going around hugging every member of the team and the crew that he can find. Nigel, I don't know when you decided that you were going to make the commitment to go IndyCar racing, if you seriously entertained thoughts that you might be able to win a championship in your rookie year. Did you?
Whew. Not really, no. But I mean, I dedicate this championship to the Newman-Haas team, especially all the boys, because they've just done a fantastic job, and it's a very emotional moment for me.
You talked, when you announced the signing of a new contract yesterday, about how important one of your former car owners, Colin Chapman, had been in your life, and you said that Carl Haas has taken a place right alongside now as such a person of such importance.
You can see the friendship in the team. I mean, we're one big family. I mean, Carl's here now.
Show the hat, show the hat. Show the hat.
Unbelievable. You didn't win it by
And now Peter Gibbons, the chief engineer on the team. Mansell savoring this moment with the emotion. We'll try to get further comments from Nigel in just a second.
Still on TV, Nigel.
The Ford Cosworth folks, boy, you talk about the emotion. And I think the thing that surprised everybody, and I want to know if it surprised you, is how readily you've been able to adapt to the ovals.
It's pure racing at its best, and I mean, you saw some of the overtaking maneuvers, 3 abreast, 4 abreast. I just love racing, and I just like this kind of racing. I just forget I'm on an oval, and it's just pure racing.
When you look back over this season, and there are many moments that stand out, and one of those has to be what you endured at Phoenix in only the 2nd or 3rd race of the year. Did you think at that time, with the injury, that you'd be able to come back and contend?
No, I didn't. I mean, it's all credit to the Newman-Haas team and all the fantastic sponsors we have, and especially Ford and Cosworth. I mean, the power plant today worked just absolutely beautifully, and you know, the Goodyear tires, and of course the principal sponsors we have, Texaco, Haviland, Kmart, Energizer, all of them have just done a fantastic job. And of course, if you want your Hoovers to clean your house the best, Dirt Devil's the best.
Listen to the bitch man. Now, last week, I know there was frustration at Mid-Ohio, and you worked so hard to get 1 point. And as it turns out now, that may have been the pivotal point that allowed you to clinch today a race before the season is over.
Yeah, I mean, I drove my heart out at Mid-Ohio, and that's a great thing with the regulations.
Here comes Paul Newman now. I think you get the idea of how much it means to this team. And keep in mind, a new contract signed yesterday. Nigel, we look forward to seeing you in an IndyCar again, not only next year, but for a year beyond that at least. Congratulations.
Hey, thank you, and congratulations to the team and the boys, the mechanics. Just did an absolutely outstanding job all year, and it's all credit to them.
Time to savor it.
Thank you.
All right, from Formula One champion to IndyCar champion in such a short space of time. Let's go.
He doesn't touch it, which is always a good sign, but the outlap on these cold tires often is the telltale lap. Tracy is spectacular on cold tires. He joins the fray right in front of Mansell. This is for position here. Remember, this is for position on the racetrack.
And don't forget Mid-Ohio, no love lost here. Mansell had hoped he could wrap his championship up at Mid-Ohio when he got in contact, and Lyondike is right in there. He darts around Mansell, and Lyondike picks up 2nd place. The little confusion in the presence of Tracy, and Lyondike took advantage of it, and he's there, and now here comes Sullivan. Sullivan tries to poke his nose alongside Mansell. Mansell won't have any of this.
Sometimes your opportunity knocks as Lyondike gets that car sideways. He's now trying to pass Paul Tracy, but Mansell was clearly held up by Tracy, and Lyondike took the opportunity. Great move.
Nigel Mansell in for his first of 2 expected stops today. Tommy Wirtz not making any changes up front. Everything looks smooth and routine. He's trying to gain that position back that he lost to Arie Lyondike through the work of his pit crew. We'll see how it translates as he gets back on course.
Boy, look, both of them, Sullivan and Mansell. Mansell wiggling left and right as he applies the power, trying to get up to speed. You saw the celebration, the elation, too, in Danny Sullivan's crew as they got Sullivan out ahead of Mansell and continued their battle there. Lyondike just coming down the hill now. There he is as he comes in behind Mansell, and he moves to battle for position.
And you see what happened there. How sideways can you be in the pit lane and not lose it? But that has allowed him to get ahead of Lyondike. But here's the battle rages.
Lyondike makes the move on Mansell, and Lyondike is passed again. So Lyondike moves into 4th, Mansell back to 5th. Boy, as they come off of these pit stops, we've seen some wonderful confrontation. Here was Mansell coming out of the pits.
Drops the clutch, and watch this crisscross of the steering wheel. Sideways. Sideways again. Breakaway again. Look at this. 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Trying to beat Lyondike, and he didn't quite pull it off.
The question, of course, is going to be whether or not he ticked over that 86-mile-an-hour cap on the speed limit in the pits. No doubt the officials saw the maneuver back and forth and are taking a real hard look at that situation. I think it probably was very close, but as yet, no indication. Up and takes 3rd place, followed by Mansell and by Johansson. Piece of debris off the last corner. What that
looked like a rear wing from Robbie Buell's MyJack car. I mean, it's so...
Yep.
Oh, no, it wasn't Buell. Scott Sharp has left part of Tony Bettenhausen's team on the outside of the corner, the last corner, which is turn 11. Gary Gerald has an update.
Yeah, Derek, the wing, I believe, came off Scott Sharp's car. We're down here in the Penske pit. We looked up to see a car sideways, and suddenly the wing was flying in the air. It's now against the tire barrier, and as you can see, it's probably just off the groove. I don't know that they'll have to go to local yellow to retrieve it or not.
Well, let's take a look at the car if we can again, because did it just fly off in position there? Exactly what happened. Look at Mansell right behind him. Johansson comes screaming past on the inside, as does Goodyear. Now just behind Mansell. Here's the view from his car as they went into the last corner. Watch the wing.
Now what happened here? He turns in. Oh, I see what happened.
Oh, it didn't come off accidentally. So Alley going to turn the right side away from us at this point, but he got into some fairly heavy contact. It spun him off. Yellow flags flew in turn 2, and Mansell has just been simply motoring ever since then. It looks like he's pit bound.
So that's 2 accidents. You can clearly see over the Haviland sign there that there has been heavy contact with Mark Smith. I don't know why Mansell's going so slowly. Obviously, he thinks there's something else broken in the car, so he's had 2 incidents today. Here it is, down the inside. Whoa, what an argument over a piece of property. I don't know whether he had any chance of making that, because Mark Smith was already turning into the corner when the contact appeared. You see both cars do spin. Gary Gerald is there.
It's an ending victory for the Newman-Haas team.
Well, he certainly is favoring his right hand, and you saw in the onboard camera how fast that wheel spun around when the wheels got into the side of Mark Smith's.
Nigel has carried that injury for quite a long time. Look at the steering wheel. Watch that. Right hand, watch the impact. Look at that. Yanks the steering wheel to the right. That's what would re-injure that already injured wrist, but I can't see how he was ever going to make it past Mark Smith on the line he was trying to get by him on.
Well, he to tend to him. There won't be any confirmation from Nigel as to specifics relating to the problem until they have an opportunity to check it out further. You mentioned, Derek, that unusual incident that happened in Cleveland that resulted in the injury. Nigel's sitting here in the back of an emergency cart now, various crew members checking with him, and now they will take him for examination. We'll have no word from him at this point.
Nigel, who was so happy about the championship, in fact, felt that he was probably at the happiest point in his life over the past couple of weeks, but he leaves this track prematurely and with injury, though nothing severe. We'll get an update from the IndyCar medical people just as soon as it's available. Pacific Ocean crashes ashore on the eastern coast of Australia at Surfers Paradise, the site of round number 1 of the PPG IndyCar World Series, the Valvoline Australian IndyCar Grand Prix. Well, good on ya, as they say here in the land down under. I'm Paul Page, and we are ready to start the IndyCar season, and it should be incredible. Throughout the winter, they've been working on new cars, new engines, new machines, new driver and team combinations that points to one of the best seasons we have ever seen in IndyCar racing. Now, we've got so many great stories for you. Let's begin with Jack Arute.
Paul, 1 year ago, this man, Nigel Mansell, made his much-anticipated debut in IndyCar competition. From this same position, the pole position, he went on to win the race and 4 others on his way to his first IndyCar driving championship. But as they say to his fellow drivers, the honeymoon may be over. Witness this headline from a former IndyCar champion that was published just earlier this week here in Australia. Let's check in with Mike.
Now, once again, we are ready for the first green flag of the season. They're well bunched up behind him, almost uncomfortably close. Green flag is out.
Incredibly volatile situation headed into turn 1 on these rain tires on a dry track. Very tricky stuff.
Well, Sam, it won't be bad while they don't have them all hot and broke in yet. They'll be real good right now for the first lap.
Boy, if they get through there with no contact, I'll be amazed. I think we saw some just before we changed pictures anyway.
Round 2.
Nigel Mansell comes out in front, and yep, they've jammed it up again. Almost the same group. And they've got the course blocked, and that's probably going to mean a red flag.
Paul, I think all the tension that we've had all day from all the delays has just got everybody up too tight. They're just all trying too hard.
Right now, we're back on a full course yellow. Look at this. Paul Tracy into the barrier. First lap, first race.
They almost got hit by some of the cars coming by. Notice Adrian Fernandez got out and almost touched him there.
Full course yellow is out. They'll acknowledge that when they get back to the start-finish line again. See Michael sitting out in front there. He got past Nigel Mansell.
Right front wing.
All right, this was Michael's move on Nigel during that accident on the first lap.
Wow. Nigel.
Right by the outside of him.
When you think
what by now, he's on the curb.
Bobby, think what this means for the season. Nigel was passed how many times last year? Not very often.
Well, Sammy was passed on the outside. That's what was really a good pass.
The circuit right now as Nigel Mansell tries to catch up to Robbie Gordon.
And watch his tires when he goes over the curbs there in the chicanes when we get to another one here. You can tell how much feedback the driver gets to a steering wheel by that.
Whoa. Look at Mansell as he tries to get inside Gordon. Now they're in drag racing mode. Mansell puts his nose ahead. He got off the corner just a little bit better. Now it's a simple matter of who has the most daring as they head down into the next corner, a left-hander. And Mansell gets into the corner as Gordon cooks the brakes. So Mansell comes forward. Now to third place.
Really keep going ahead like that.
Nigel's now tired of waiting, and he's attacking at the back of Fittipaldi.
Nigel has never defended a championship yet. The World Championship, here he comes taking a look at Emerson on both sides, making the move down on the inside.
Nigel Mansell comes around Fittipaldi. Spectacular piece of braking, almost a trademark piece of braking for Mansell, and he moves into second place.
I think Emerson's in trouble. That was too easy. I see Emerson waving there for a second. Maybe he just tore one of his visors off.
He might be in trouble, Sam, but this is the way Mansell passes. He's very famous, like Paul said, for doing that. You watch Emma go to the right. Now Mansell just doesn't brake. He brakes very late, which is what he's really known for being able to do. By Emma, and that was an easy pass. But all because he set it up good.
Mansell will defy everything that they used to teach in the race driving schools and be standing on the brakes all the way through the corner.
There's another replay coming out. There he goes on the inside. There's nothing Emma can do. Once he's there a little bit, he can't come down on Mansell. Emma doesn't know how slow he's going to go. It was just an easy pass.
And Billy went back for the telephone there. You can see the shadows are getting very long here. And as is typical in the tropics, when the sun drops over the horizon, it gets dark rather quickly. Look at this. As they were getting ready to come off the corner, Mansell loses it. Now, it has been raining in several sections of the race course. They have gone green despite the fact that Nigel's sitting here. He went back out on dry tires. Many of the teams came in and went over to the wet rain tires.
Played this beautifully. Here's Mansell.
Listen to him as he's trying to talk them into getting him around quickly.
You know, it's so disgusting to be able to sit there like that, and you know the time is just going away. Look at him. And there's really nothing you can do because you can't even talk to the guys that are pushing you. Now,
this is what got him there.
Here's Nigel coming around. He breaks loose. Now, once he's broken loose, you have no more traction. And it just continues going around. What almost happened, though, is when he came around like this, now the rear tires are locked up, going backwards there. Now he almost hit the wall. Boy, that's what could have been bad.
To see him. Good run, too, for Jimmy Vasser. As we take a look down through the remainder of the field, Nigel Mansell, well, he's going to have some work to do if he's going to get back into the championship fight. We give you...
Hello and welcome. I'm Paul Page. This track is what they call a bull ring. 1 mile, very flat, very narrow, and rimmed with concrete. It can be tough on the drivers. Take the final practice session yesterday. Nigel Mansell on the right of your screen. He simply spun the car, collected Jacques Villeneuve. Both cars heavily damaged. Now take a look out the back of Nigel's car. The same incident. Villeneuve closes. And is trapped against the wall. Both the crews with a lot of work to do on those cars. A fascinating front row here.
Let's are there. He has a red roll bar. Look at this. Nigel Mansell comes up and very quickly overhauls Paul Tracy. He has now won every race computed on a 1 mile track. Let's see if he can do it with this win here today.
Well, so he took 2 or 3 or 4 laps to settle everything down, but he has dragged Villeneuve along with him. So is Tracy slowing down, having shown tremendous pace in those opening 3 or 4 laps.
Is he showing patience now? Is this a new Tracy that knows that he doesn't have to lead in the early going?
Mark Smith had a heavy crash, but Mansell takes the opportunity to come into the pit lane.
Under the yellow, the leader of the race, car 1, red number 1 now. Nigel Mansell comes in. And the rest of the field stays out and is gathered up. That'll put Paul Tracy and
stalls it.
He stalls it. They've got to get him back now. He's going to lose the position. He may lose the lap.
Now there's the gamble beginning to run away from him. He took the gamble. Mario's in. Villeneuve passes him.
And look at this. There comes the lead of the race around. Tracy and Fittipaldi behind the pace car. The blend line's going to be real important. How is that situated here, Derek?
Well, you'll see it right now. As you come back out onto line, on the back straight, if you're ahead of the blend line before the pace car gets around, you can filter into the line, as Villeneuve does right there. Now, Fernandez, if he'd have moved up, Villeneuve would have to keep going all the way back. So you depend on a bit of professional courtesy. You know, when you're the leading cars in the races, you tend to get more professional courtesy.
And a great race. Nigel Mansell still trying to catch up. Once again, all of the drivers in that multi-car accident earlier have been pronounced not totally fit, only minor injuries. And that only really to Hero. So we wish him well. Possible mild shoulder separation. Look at the debris. What a mess. Winds are really blowing here and blowing debris onto the racetrack. Moselle high. Look at Mansell. Mansell comes low, trying to unlap himself. Plenty of traffic there. Davy Jones to the inside. Jimmy Vasser sits to the high side, and Mansell is back on the lead lap.
Brilliant move. A brilliant move pulled off by Mansell. And he did it by lining up correctly and anticipating the slow traffic on the way into turn 1.
Last bit of fuel. Nigel's on the ground. Oh, boy, he has to kill it this time. 14-7.
Yeah, there wasn't any question. He wasn't going to get that engine stalled again. Let both of the tires, and out he went.
Oh, he's off the road. He's off the road. He's on the grass.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, that's a hard stopper.
He put himself behind the 8-ball on that first pit stop when he stalled it. Now he almost does the exact opposite with way too much enthusiasm, i.e. wheel spin, and he was lucky he didn't get collected when he got out onto the racing line.
That's a cold tire issue, though, right? He had a fairly good turning moment going there and couldn't get it done. Let's take a look.
It was a cold tire. Unfortunately, it was only the fronts that were cold because they're fried now, those rears.
The rears are now fully up to temperature. The fronts are not. And now watch.
Now he turns in.
And
Look
it
at
won't.
this. He's already out of grip.
He turns, it doesn't.
Boy, he has enough presence of mind to back out of the power to keep that car straight. What? And as he flies out into the racing line, look at Scott Goodyear comes down the inside and waves his fist at Mansell. Well, there will be words there from Scott Goodyear to Nigel Mansell.
When you come off like that onto the grass, what's the sensation? Like ice?
Like ice, like the water. And then what you have to do is forget about the power. You have to get out of it and use your steering wheel to just keep the car straight. That's the most important thing.
Now watch. He's going to start a turn here, and it isn't going to work.
Now listen to the throttle. See the way he feathers till he has it straight, and then he goes.
There's a good example of when they talk about how gentle you must look at that maneuver. Whoa!
Brian Till gets his doors blown off and his mirrors sucked
Emerson
off.
Fittipaldi turns down onto the...
Here, the Davy Jones he got out there had first gear, but no reverse. Now remember, these cars on a road circuit are supposed to have reversing. Maybe his is not working, but he was able to take off without getting a push start there.
He has a reverse gear, he told me he did. Nigel Mansell, of course, has moved into third now as we ride with him.
Here's what happened. Boy, look at Nigel. He almost totally lost it. Lock to lock. Whoa!
That was close. But look at the reflexes by Nigel Mansell. I mean, he really owes the fact that he's still in the race to the fact that he saw what was coming and had those incredible reflexes along with good judgment.
Being very careful as you see the new leader of the race, Al Unser Jr., comes around, completing his 66th lap now with Nigel Mansell running in second. And in third, it's Robbie Gordon. Back at the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach, Nigel Mansell with a problem. The right rear tire shredding off of the wheel. He's going to limp back to the pits.
Obviously, it was a cut tire. Not a blown tire, but a cut tire. He's got to run it flat. You can look at it. It looks like it's still on the car, but the wheel is a whole lot wider what that tire is.
He had the misfortune to have it happen early in the lap, so he's had to make his way around the entire track at low speed.
Work day on day on day. Here's on board with Nigel Mansell. Cross the start-finish line. Now look ahead for the yellow flags and then for that car in the course.
And remember, he's going 190 right about here as he hits the brakes hard. Now he sees it. It's a pretty good view of it. Remember that Robbie Gordon right now is 26.
Look at Michael as he was following Nigel. They, by the way, in a battle for position here. Whoa! Little close, huh? Just a little close.
But then Nigel definitely slowed suddenly, didn't he, because of traffic. He was in a bind, too.
Still back in the garage area, Nigel Mansell. Nigel, the lessons learned last year as a rookie, how will it help you in this race today?
To say hello to my children first, Chloe, Leo, and Greg, and hi, Mum. Yeah, I mean, I'm more comfortable. I haven't got any pain in my back this year, and, you know, a lot of experience underneath the belt, and I'm very comfortable with that.
And we must ask you, because the whole world wants to know, are you planning to go back to Formula One after Indianapolis?
I beg your pardon?
I think that says an awful lot. A loud volume from Nigel Mansell. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Well, car one, Nigel Mansell currently runs in fourth place. The indication was that he had to respond to a black flag. He has not yet done so. See if we get a glimpse of it.
The rumor mill would have Nigel Mansell offered $13 million and his car owner, Carl Haas, $21 million to make a return to Formula One racing to spice things up over there. You heard Gary Jarrell ask him if he was going. He declined to comment. The big numbers swirl around this man's future.
You saw the black flag light there coming off of turn two, the big number one telling Nigel Mansell he has to come in. Eddie Cheever has already come in. What's the attitude in the pits, Gary?
Here's Larry Curry, who calls the shots for Cheever. What was the problem, and can you catch up?
It's going to be tough to catch up. I think we can, but Michael Andretti had a problem. He came in the pits because he had a puncture. Eddie passed him when they went green because Michael knew he had a problem. So they penalized us for passing under the yellow. What are we supposed to do, pull over and stop?
There you hear it from Larry Curry, and the black flag controversy is looming again at Indianapolis, Paul.
But while we have suggested that the pass was on Michael Andretti, the officials report that the pass really occurred on car 5, and that's Raul Boisel.
Remember last year it happened to Boisel, Paul, and now it's happening to Mansell and, of course, Eddie Cheever. You know, another thing, I notice all the cars as they come to turn 2 here, they're going a little bit slower. I think we're entering that point in the race where everything is a little bit slippery in the turn. I watch the guys that were conservative running a little bit closer to the grass.
And we have reconfirmed with the United States Auto Club officials that the black flag was for passing Raul Boisel, both Cheever and Nigel Mansell.
It's interesting that Boisel is now benefiting from penalties to Cheever and Mansell. As you pointed out, Bobby, last year, of course, it was Boisel who had 2 penalties.
45, the John Paul situation. Boy, lost it way early. That almost definitely confirms that Danny saw. What's this? What's this?
There's Nigel Mansell under. Unbelievable.
Nigel Mansell and Dennis Vitolo. Why? How did they get to this point? An unbelievable situation.
Yellow.
What is going?
The yellow light's been on for several laps. This is on the pit road.
But interesting that Mansell and I think Al Jr. were the first guys through. The accident. Maybe they picked up a puncture too.
Yeah.
Nigel Mansell decides to get out because there was fire on the back of the car, and
remember, this is methanol that's burning, and you can't see it.
Sam, that's oil that's burning right there, not methanol. You couldn't see it. It's right underneath the engine there.
Yeah, but what about Mansell? One of the firemen saw something and went to just totally envelop Mansell. Maybe he thought that Mansell was on fire or saw some of those flames that we can't see from methanol.
Bobby, I saw the oil fire, but then so suddenly Mansell seemed to leap forward as if something else. That's why I suppose that maybe the methanol had ignited.
That's because everybody is screaming fire. He wasn't in a hurry until everybody started screaming. And he also knows methanol fires are almost invisible, Tim.
Well, but Bobby, he is on the ground.
Bobby,
it's
it
not
also
an easy climb out.
It could have been, too, if his radiator was punctured. Don't forget that'll take time till it seeps into the back of the cockpit, and he could have all of a sudden got the hot water.
Which feels like fire, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And maybe burns worse.
It's not very often we see one car on top of the other. This is really a terrible looking possible accident there.
On the warm-up lane, and we still have no idea how these 2 cars, Vitolo and Mansell, got there well after the yellow. Let's get an update from Gary in the Mansell pit.
I'll tell you, Paul, this team is devastated down here because they were elated when that initial yellow came out. They were going back on the lead lap. They were right back in the race. Then suddenly, after the yellow, here's the problem for Mansell. They have ridden the roller coaster right to the bottom of the pit right now.
Well, Gary, remember, the Newman-Haas team has never managed to win Indy, and they've been competitive year after year since they started in 83.
I'm worried about Nigel Mansell. He is in great discomfort there. Nigel and Jacques Villeneuve were both about to make up a lap, taking advantage of the yellow that came out. And then this happened, and we still don't have a clear understanding of why it happened.
I think obviously, Paul, that he got hurt in the accident. He was just sitting there for a while hoping that somebody could help him out, and then he either felt that hot water that Eddie was talking about, or somebody was hollering fire, and both he got out, no matter how much speed he had.
Bobby, your heart just goes out to Nigel, who's been hurt so often in racing, one way or another. That bad accident in Phoenix last year, which he bravely overcame to finish 3rd here in this race, and now this.
Well, let's take a look at Nigel Mansell's in-car. Maybe that'll give us an idea of what happened here. The yellow light is on. Emergency equipment is on the track. First time we're all seeing it.
This is turn 1.
And he's suddenly hit. And we're waiting. That was the camera going out.
There's
the
nothing
camera
wrong with the set.
stopped. We're still watching the tape because there is where the camera comes back. And he gets hit from behind. That's what it looks like. We'll still ride with this videotape from Nigel Mansell's camera. Mansell's still sitting there. Go ahead, Danny.
His head's laid over a little bit to the left. I don't understand that.
Yeah, could he be dazed? Here's the smoke.
Fire starting in the back of the car.
That's the oil smoke.
It's from Dennis Bartolo's car, though, I believe. There's a little oil dripping down. You could see that. That's why it was burning with the yellow flame.
Nigel takes off the steering wheel so that he can get out.
Now he's slow. See, I think the water or something came through there, and all of a sudden he realized he was getting burned.
There's the water.
Now the water's spitting out. That's from the radiator, I believe, of either his car or somebody else's.
So on board Michael Andretti. Here is the Valvoline race summary for those of you entered in the Valvoline Indy 500 giveaway. Wait a minute. Let's see if we can get to Nigel Mansell.
Nigel Mansell. Here we go.
Yes, sir. Jerry, go ahead.
Here in the garage, back in the Nigel Mansell has come out of the infield care center. Nigel, first of all, are you okay?
I don't feel great. I got a bit of concussion, and I've just upset all the medical people because they want me to go to the hospital, and I don't. So if they want to take my license away, that's fine with me, because I've never seen anything such a joke as what we just had out there. We're under yellow for a lap and a half. Someone tries to take my head off.
Have you spoken with Dennis Vitolo, Nige, to see exactly what went on, what happened?
You speak to him.
Obviously, it upset Nigel Mansell, holding his right shoulder, and they wanted him to go down to Methodist Hospital for x-rays, but as you heard Nigel say, he would have no part of that. He has climbed in the golf cart, and he and Carl Haas, Paul Newman and company will head back to Gasoline Alley. Paul?
An understatement to suggest that Mansell is furious. Now, all right, we watch the leader, Emerson Fittipaldi, but the questions are all to Dennis Vitolo, and Jack Arute has him.
Dennis has found his way back to Gasoline Alley, and Dennis, when Nigel Mansell came out of his car and out of the hospital, he didn't have the kindest of things to say about you. Give us your version of the accident.
Well, there's really only one version. This is the hardest thing to say, but it is. It was my fault. I came into off the back straight down to pit lane and was just a little bit too quick. Got caught out and ran into the back. I think it was John Andretti, and that launched my car up, and I collected Nigel. Unfortunately.
Early. Well, Paul, looks as if Robbie may get just a little more racy in the Valvoline car. He had a severe understeer problem. The car was pushing badly, but it seems as if the track is coming to him. Derek Walker said he radioed in and said, thus far, it's getting better every lap.
You ride back now with Nigel Mansell as we keep an eye on Michael Andretti and Raul Boisel line just ahead. There is Nigel as he tries to get around Michael. Whoa, he's going to take him close to the wall with that one.
Boy, that was a close one there. Michael didn't see him for a while, kept moving out. You could see Nigel was getting a little nervous.
Considerable rivalry between Nigel Mansell and Michael Andretti, of course, stemming from their incident on the first lap down in Australia at the beginning of the season. No love lost between those two drivers.
Michael Andretti rides in 8th place, the last car on the leader lap. The leaders should be lining up just behind Michael here shortly. Nigel is 7th, then Raul Boisel in 6th. There they are all together as Nigel begins to challenge on Raul, and they move around Mark Smith.
Nigel at last having a really good race this year. He's had a couple of places. He's well up in the championship, but he hasn't really moved well through the traffic. He is now.
You know, Sam, I think the deal, a lot of it between Nigel and Michael is not bad feelings, except that Nigel is in the position with the same team where Michael used to be with. And I think there's always just a slight amount of jealousy on things like that. But they respect each other, and they both win in the same team. So that shows you it's a team that's really good in a lot of ways.
Well, I agree with you, Bobby. And of course, last year, Nigel was very solicitous of Michael's troubles in Formula One. He did everything he could to help him out with advice.
So usually it pushes a little bit.
Nigel Mansell is into the pits as Emerson Fittipaldi runs the fastest lap of the race at 146 miles an hour, Gary.
Nigel Mansell hits the marks. We got a radio report saying that it's loose as a goose. He says he almost lost it on one occasion. So the crew now putting scuff tires on and, of course, servicing with fuel down off the jacks. And Mansell is rolling 13 and a fraction seconds. Excellent stop for the Newman-Haas team.
What they mean, Gary, is loose. It means the rear end is loose. The car wants to spin out. The worst thing that a driver could have. And you notice they didn't tighten the front wing or raise them up on that. They absolutely have to tighten the rear end down.
Rumors continue to circulate that this man, Nigel Mansell, on the screen, will be going to Formula One this year to drive races that do not conflict with IndyCar races, possibly or probably for the Williams team. There are only rumors at this point as far as we know, but he's driving a beautiful race here today, certainly.
Controversial last year. The rule is the pole sitter has to get to the line first. The pole sitter is on his way. In fact, a good start over the line. He gets well ahead of second place as he comes to the line. One engine could already be in trouble. We've seen a couple of puffs there as Mansell takes the lead of the race. Two cars with an early visit to the pits. One of them you saw a moment ago, Ari Linddyke, but Gary Gerald also Stefan Johansson.
Indeed, Paul. Real problem is they came in and the right rear had just been totally shredded and demolished. We don't know where the contact was, but he obviously was in a first lap incident. They've made the change, fresh rubber. He's back out, but now at the back of the field.
And take a look at Al Unser Jr. as he comes around Mansell, and little Al picks up the lead.
Yes, and you know, passing is so hard here. I almost missed that when it happened so fast.
Yeah, like you said, it's hard here, and he just zoomed right around.
Yeah.
Now Paul Tracy comes up to challenge.
Now Paul cannot afford to sit behind Mansell too long because little Al is getting away. Obviously Mansell's not working as good here. There he goes right there, and he knocked him out. That was
clean pass, and I think Paul Tracy knows that he cannot at this stage in the season, with only 1/3 place to give him points, afford to make any mistakes. He made a mistake at Indy, he made others. He must drive clean races.
We were all sitting here cringing, Sam, when that pass happened because we didn't know if it was going to fit or not.
He's back fully on style. The strongest rumor, and we reported just as that, seems to be that there is a good chance that Nigel Mansell will drive in Formula One in the races that do not conflict with IndyCar. As we hear more on that, we'll certainly update you.
Well, can I just throw in a little rumor, Paul, that I'm pretty sure is true? Nigel will be going with Formula One next year at least. This goes on past your rumor, and none other than Michael Andretti is going to be driving this car.
Rumor Central in full tilt here.
Well, you know, if you go to the Newman-Haas trailer where you can buy model cars and t-shirts and stuff, you can buy 1/43rd scale models of Mario's car and Nigel's car. Mario's car is $22 and Nigel's is only $20. And I asked, well, why is Mario's more expensive? And they said, well, it's his last year. I think they're going to add $2 to Nigel's model too, don't you?
I don't know. I have some doubts. Nigel seems to be, from time to time, quite happy in Indy cars. He may drive some Formula One, but I think he'll keep his focus here. Al Unser Jr.
And you see the barriers run from side to side, the need for absolute precision, and also for looking ahead. If the car, if it's two cars up, gets in trouble, then you have to know about it. You can't just focus on the road or the car right in front of you.
Riding with Nigel Mansell. From time to time, a little breakup on the signal from the camera. Look, though, Nigel, who started on the pole, has fallen steadily backwards here on the 27th lap, sits in 6th place.
He actually didn't come out of the pits too fast. Their pit stop was a little bit slow, and he lost a lot of positions right there, Paul.
Same sort of incident.
Nigel Mansell in the pits. This is that. See, that's where he had to dart over as Villeneuve came through.
And he lost momentum, of course, which allowed Fittipaldi to get back in the exact position he was before they both pitted.
All right, Bobby, so here is my question. Is there any rule regarding that? Does one person have a right of way over the other?
Absolutely not. There has never been a rule about that, and it's just like root, hog, or die. Get out the best way you can, and if you can block somebody without creating an unsafe situation, you do it. Now, in this particular place with Mansell, look at the tires. He's captured. He needs to go straight. He looked in his rearview mirror. He's got Emmo coming down there. He's got a problem. He has to slow down, stop, and there goes Emmo right by there.
He was just trapped in a situation there. So
like a funnel.
We are still under full course yellow while they get this car, that of Adrian Fernandez, off the course. On the lead lap, led, of course, by Al Unser Jr. Now, take a look at this. This was Nigel as he was coming out. He was already at the point we picked it up there around Villeneuve. Now let's take a look. This is an entirely different view of that same stop and shows you how he got trapped.
Watch for Villeneuve.
Whoa.
Yeah, split-second stuff. You know, out on the track, you fall into sort of a rhythm, but in the pits, that never happens.
And the one thing that we didn't see is those right ahead. Look at the tires right out in front of him. That's what was causing the problem. Somebody else's tires for somebody else's pit stop. That's what caused the first part, and then comes by Emerson after the Villeneuve thing. So Nigel was like the Civic Center down in L.A.
Look, too, at the frustration on the crew when they realized what's happened here.
Yeah, because they know they've lost the spot to Fittipaldi. And it was going to be so hard for Nigel to get by him on the track, and they had it done in the pit, so that's a doubly frustrating thing.
Villeneuve's the one that really did a good job on that. He knew when to stop and not press the issue anymore, and that saved the whole thing.
Let's go to guys, because there's nothing really obvious about the rings. Obviously, he's uncomfortable with it. And Nigel Mansell. Nigel Mansell finds the tires, and he unstraps and is ready to climb out.
This looks like a repeat of last year. People having problems towards the end.
Well, just exactly. Wow.
Now that's hard to do. I couldn't even do that.
That's awesome. He's an athlete and a half.
That's difficult.
So Nigel Mansell climbs out of his car and across the tires. Let's go to Jackaroo. More of a luxury because of this yellow, the fourth yellow of the day. This one because of Nigel Mansell, who was running with Fittipaldi. And it looks like he may not have tagged Fittipaldi, but it was close.
Yeah, it looks like there's a real good chance he might have touched him a little bit, but he was certainly locked up and spun, trying to avoid him as best he could.
Well, another way to find out is from this onboard camera.
Mansell, of course, desperately needed the points from here. Now he probably won't get any. They're about 2 turns away from where it happened, so watch closely.
Before he got Fittipaldi.
Well, actually, Fittipaldi, for some reason, slowed down an awful lot, and that caused Nigel to have to slow down unexpected. He wasn't expecting to have to brake that hard that soon.
As you can see, Nigel is back in the cockpit and ready to try it again. Let's look at this one more time, Sam.
Well, obviously, he locked him up suddenly there before he hit Emerson. He was certainly not attempting a passing maneuver when that happened.
I think Emerson should slow down unexpectedly.
Well, because of the car in front of Emerson, don't you think, Bobby?
Yeah,
quite possibly.
They're in slower traffic when they do this, and it looks like Emo got out of the throttle as well, but very definitely Nigel got over in the wall. Let's go down to the pits. Remember, and there's no question. Well, there might be a question.
A chain reaction.
Let's go.
Nigel has come out now with the helmet off. A motor problem ends up being the culprit finally.
Yeah, we've had an exciting day, haven't we? One thing and another, but we're having a great dice there with Emerson, and I think maybe the back marker in front of him made him brake a little early, and that's why I tagged his back. But then we got going again, but then I think something's happened with the engine. The throttle cable's either broken or something, but it's not working too good at the moment.
You got out of the car after the incident, then got back in. Then we saw you with a second pit stop securing the belt. Were you harnessed in to begin with?
Yeah, I was partly. One of the belts was undone, and I radioed to the pit where were we, and they said 20th place, and it wasn't worth taking that risk for so many laps being out of the points, so we came in and put the other belt in, and then as it happens, we've had a mechanical problem anyway.
It's got to be a huge disappointment because of this point situation when you look at where you are now in comparison to the great success, particularly on the ovals at this point last year.
Yeah, but it's been an exciting race, and I think it was very good up until we had a problem, and you know, there's a lot of racing still left in the season, and the Newman-Haas team worked superbly. They deserve better today, but that's motor racing. We've been in it a long time, and we know that next week will be a new week.
Any announcements about your racing future in the next few days?
It's over at the moment.
All right. Thank you, Nigel.
I had hoped to speak live with Nigel Mansell about the question that's on everybody's mind at the moment, Formula One. Will he or won't he? He refused to talk to us because he really didn't want any distractions prior to getting ready to go to battle against Al Unser Jr. and the rest of the Penske team in an effort to retain his PPG IndyCar World Series title. However, this is what I do know. Nigel will do all the remaining IndyCar races. He will do all the remaining IndyCar tests that are scheduled. However, speculation is rife that on Tuesday he will be in England testing the Williams Formula One car and that he would compete next weekend at the French Grand Prix. Gary?
Back at Portland as Nigel Mansell continues to try to hold off Fittipaldi. They have Hero to deal with at the moment, but Tracy is now beginning to worry Fittipaldi. That was Scott Sharp, who was just off the edge of the course at the beginning of the festival chicane.
And you know what I just saw? Nigel Mansell passed Matt Schuster under yellow. He definitely, I looked up, the yellow flags were flying, and Mansell did pass Matt Schuster.
Now that brings us to a whole new question. After the controversy that they had over waving a driver by at Detroit, the IndyCar officials have now said you can no longer wave somebody else by. If you do, you might as well wave the whole field.
Watch the yellow flag on the left-hand side. There's the pass. Yellow flag, left-hand side. There she goes. Hey, baby. Oh, we got a black flag.
But where did the yellow zone start? Was the pass completed at it, before it, just beyond it? That's what they pay Wally Dallenbach for. Down the order, there is Tracy, there is Mansell. All of them using slower traffic to their advantage, sometimes to the disadvantage of others. Certainly Tracy doing that. So Fittipaldi moves to second, Tracy to third, Mansell drops to fourth, Robbie Gordon remains in fifth. Let's take a look at the Tracy pass. Slow motion here.
This is as good as it gets. Tracy makes the move, climbs over the curb, and watch what happens here. Mansell grabs it back. And Tracy said, there's enough road for me here. Wheel to wheel, two professionals. They do not have any contact. And Tracy pulls it off. As good as you will get.
Spectacular piece of driving. This is, watch to the Emerson Fittipaldi come to the inside here on the right-hand side of your screen.
This is much easier. You saw Mansell get sideways, coming onto the straight, and gave Emerson the run. He already had the corner and the line on the apex before Mansell ever turned in, and you can do nothing but concede. The captain, Roger Penske. And Al Jr. notches up another one.
There's Mansell and Gordon. They're still in the fight. Paul Tracy just came across for third place. This fight is over on the backside. Gordon's right there. Traffic for both of them.
Oh, look at
Johansson
this.
just ahead. Hero just ahead of that.
Look, watch Gordon. Watch Gordon.
Gordon's looking for any opening he can find. He'll haul to the inside.
Here we
Try
go.
to pass Mansell. And they scream for the line, and Gordon looks like he has him.
He gets him. He does get him, I believe.
So as they come to the line, a last lap battle resolves itself in favor of Robbie Gordon, and he takes fourth place away from Nigel Mansell in the last couple hundred yards. And he and Mansell give one another thumbs up and thank each other for a terrific fight.
Well, we have seen many times today you don't get better than that, and we just saw another opportune moment presented to Robbie Gordon as Mansell gets caught up in traffic, lines the Valvoline Cummins car up perfectly, and in the drag race he grabs that position from Nigel Mansell. What a great run by Gordon.
Strung out single file right now, but still in hot pursuit is Nigel Mansell, who also has much to prove today. This time last year he already had a couple of wins under his belt. He really wishes he were in that position now.
Mansell, by his standards, is having a terrible season. Winless, as you said. He had a foray into Formula One a couple of weeks ago in the French Grand Prix. He ran as high as third, but broke down. It's not the kind of season which Mansell, who thrives on success and the adrenaline it brings, is having.
And has created ongoing speculation about where Mansell will drive next year. Will it be in the IndyCars? Or will it be in Formula One? The BBC is reporting today that Nigel Mansell will in fact be driving in Formula One next year.
Well, Paul, I believe that, and I believe that you're going to see Michael Andretti in his car next year. But I think what you're seeing this year with the Lola cars versus the Penske's, which right there, the car on the right was Mansell. The red and white cars, of course, are the Penske cars. And what you're seeing is the Penske cars are more flexible. They are racing these cars exactly the same way that they qualify them. And Mansell, for example, the Lola cars, they have a problem. They get them tuned up really good, but the cars are almost too finely tuned, and they can get out of tune on the chassis just real easy.
Gray sky and looking down on Mario Andretti, who took a sudden and quick spin actually over on the straightaway and then drove the car across the track and climbed out with damage to the left front. So we'll have to find out what caused the spin. It seems like it was contact with something or somebody.
Well, obviously his left front bent really bad. The suspension is, Paul, so he had to have contact with somebody, it would be my guess, especially the way it's bent.
Let's try and get an update on Mario Andretti's situation, Jack.
Well, Paul, for the last time in his driving career, Mario Andretti has come out of the cockpit in Cleveland. What broke on the car, Mario?
Nothing broke. Well, it broke after I got hit. The car number one just miscued there a little bit, and he hit me on the left front, and it broke the right. It broke the wishbone.
A tough break, but looking at the track conditions the way they are, what is your assessment of the change in the weather? How has it affected the cars?
Oh, everything for the better. I think everybody's going quicker. The times that we're running out there are almost qualifying times, so the tires and everything are just taking a big breather today.
A teammate of yours, Nigel Mansell, you say is the one that hit you. What do you say to him?
I'm sure he didn't want to do it, but could have been more careful, too.
Paul?
Oh, got chunked by his own teammate, Bobby.
Well, I think it kind of shows you one thing, that teammates don't plan races out and teams don't tell who's going to do what during the race.
All right, as we watch this battle, which is broken off for the moment, it gives us a chance to take a look at the confrontation between Mario and Nigel Mansell. And that's the bump right there.
So Nigel's first reaction was anger.
Yes,
he thought Mario pulled in on him, which I don't think was the case, but you can see how totally unintentional it was.
Yeah, that was a decision that, boy, there was a close one right there.
Well, this is a decisive moment, because remember, you talked about Michael Andretti here in the red car on the right, taking over the seat next year on Newman-Haas from Mansell. So there's a lot at stake right here.
As Nigel moves under inside Michael. Boy, look at Michael. He's coming right back at him.
This is the great racing for which Cleveland is famous. Remember the battle between Emerson Fittipaldi and Nigel last year.
On board Michael. That's Nigel just ahead. But he may have more problems than we think. He brushed the wall earlier. This is a lap earlier. Keep an eye on number 1 there.
Oh, look at that. That's
just
fire.
Rear tire only, though.
That was fire was a magnesium. The wheels are made out of magnesium.
Nigel Mansell talking now with Peter Gibbons, his chief engineer on the Newman-Haas team. His children and his wife had just arrived a moment ago. Nigel, let's get a word about your reaction to this event. And I know that there's a feeling I could sense as soon as you got out of the car. You gave it everything you could today, but this Penske team is just proving to be so very, very tough.
I thought I won. Didn't I win? It felt like I won. And I waved the white flag and I threw it at him, but I even missed throwing it at him.
Now, you had a couple of adventures. Let's start first when you slapped the wall down here in turn 8 with the left rear.
Yeah, I mean, I got in a real big power slide, and I just didn't want to get out of it because I was sort of holding on to, I think it was Paul at the time. And I hit the wall real hard, but fortunately it was square. And then we had another incident coming out the chicane where my teammate sideswiped me a little bit.
Yeah, no, I wanted to talk about that. What was the scenario from your seat?
No, he just came straight across.
You talk about this with him?
No, it's just one of those racing things. I just hope it wasn't on purpose. It shouldn't be, but I think he's got to watch where he's going a bit more.
Now, on the positive side of this day, you gained 2 positions in the point standings. You go now from 5th to 3rd. I would think that would be encouraging.
Yeah, I mean, the Newman-Haas team just did a fantastic job today. There's no question that the Penske is the team to beat this year. I mean, they've got 3 fantastic drivers. Anyone can win at any race. And, I mean, as I said, I only came 2nd today, but I feel as though the Newman-Haas team won.
Appreciate your time, Nigel. Speaking of that Penske team, Jack's with another member.
Of the competitive Penske cars.
Absolutely spectacular, and he understands track position. He also knows that Gordon is the fastest man on the racetrack at the moment, so he's got to be careful of his own tires.
All right, Robbie Gordon's still on the lead. Let's visit Jan Binkus in the pits.
You both mentioned that Nigel Mansell has hit the wall twice here this weekend. And remember last year, he hit the wall 3 times. Let's go back upstairs, guys.
It looks as though Emerson Fittipaldi has just been able to go by Michael Andretti.
Well, we just talked about Michael's bravery. He tried the outside move on Nigel Mansell under heavy braking, and he lost out on the tussle. Almost hit the tire barrier, and Emerson takes advantage and slides through.
A canny piece of work by Fittipaldi, spotting the momentary opportunity.
Mansell moves inside, blocks the line. Michael is too brave here because at this position, he can't turn in, and he runs out of road. Right here, kisses the tires, and there goes Emerson. As Emerson's left front just pokes his nose in, he gets an easy place.
So much talent, Derek. Such a great road racer as he shows here. How could the Formula One experiment have failed?
Well, it affected him badly because it took a lot of confidence away. But I'll tell you what, look at the confidence. Who's back now as he sees Mansell break so late, misses the apex. Michael is putting pressure under Nigel Mansell.
Andretti dueling there with the only man ever to have won the Formula One World Championship and in the IndyCar World Series Championship back-to-back. That was Mansell in 92 and 93. Michael Andretti looking for the inside line and taking the lead away from Nigel Mansell there.
Loves to do it under braking. Slices down from a 5th gear kink, flat kink, and comes down the inside for the first time since Australia. Michael Andretti takes the lead in dominant style to the delight of everybody at Chip Ganassi Racing. But Mansell looks to be in trouble. He's got a puncture. Mansell's right rear is flat.
So Mansell goes the way of Robbie Gordon before him.
And he just passed the pit, so he has to go all the way around almost 2 full miles as that tire shreds itself on the back. Mansell is dropping way, way down the order, and that tire will leave the car any second.
And this could cost him any chance to challenge again for the lead, because when all this is over, Derek, he's going to be a lap down, isn't he?
He will be a lap down the way it is at the moment. Finds himself in a rostrum position if he can hold it. He's running third. Mauricio Gugelmin from Brazil is fourth, and Mario Andretti is fifth, and Nigel Mansell continues to be a lap down following leader Michael.
And no full track caution on the Matsushita spin. They are apparently still racing under the green.
Nigel, in fact, is 2 laps down from Michael Andretti. So Nigel not having a good day, and Rahal stretches his legs a little bit and pulls well clear now, obviously of Emerson, but Fernandez is the next man that may come into his mirror.
So as we watch this race today, you're going to see an awful lot of surprises. And in that group of drivers challenging is the pole sitter here today, Nigel Mansell. He's with Gary.
And Paul, he's also the defending champion of this race. He qualified at nearly 234 miles per hour. We know of the great demands on the driver, on the race car at these speeds, on these banks. How tough is it physically to adapt to 500 miles, Nigel?
I think on a track like this, incredibly so. I mean, about twice as much as probably Indianapolis, because you know, the intensity of the lateral G you're pulling all the time on these banks.
The confidence factor for you and your team today going in?
As long as the car holds together and it runs okay, I'm optimistic, but it's going to be a long way.
Let's go to Jan Beekes in the middle of the front row.
For a second time, they go to work on the front of the car. Down under, well beyond the suspension members with regard to the shock absorbers and everything. What is all the way down there? Robbie Gordon's car also in the pits. Apparently there is some damage there that they're going to have to work with. Jan Beekes?
Well, I can update on both of those, Paul. First of all, Nigel Mansell just radioed in and said, if we can't fix it, I can't drive it. They're trying to work in the shock absorber area. With Robbie Gordon, he's been in the pits once. They replaced the tire that blew. Right now, they're beating with a hammer the front steering rod. It was bent. That means the toe out was off on the car. Robbie Gordon now pulling away, and Gary has more. Gary?
The report we get, Jan, is that it was a stuck throttle, and I can't imagine anything other than fire that would be a bigger nightmare for a race driver. Mansell is now engaged. The clutch is rolled away. He'll go back out to try it again.
Well, that confirms something. I thought that they were well forward of the shock absorbers. A stuck throttle, my goodness. Now, let's take a look.
Gary has more up on pit lane. Gary?
And Nigel Mansell had come back in after 1 lap. He goes back out. What they've done is to try to get to the throttle cable in a couple of different areas, or the linkage, we should say, and they got it engaged, and then they sprayed it with a lubricant, trying to make sure that it functions properly. Mansell back out now, and we'll get his next test as he goes toward turns 1 and 2.
Great run for Fernandez, very big name in Mexico, but Mansell is still in deep trouble, and Jan Beekes is there.
Well, the one thing I can tell you, Derek, is that they had him shut down the engine. That means they're going to make a big change here. You can see Tom Wertz trying to get down inside there to get to the throttle area like Gary was telling us about. They're also going to take off the engine cover because they have to look at this cable both on the front and the rear. We don't know if it's a linkage, we don't know if it's cable, but right now this crew has both ends covered.
I don't think I'd like to try any place with the throttle sticking. Here it might be an advantage, though. Just lock it down and hold on. Pit stops might. Update on Nigel Mansell, Jan.
Well, the Cosworth engineers have found the problem with the Ford power plant. It turns out they took the pop-off valve off. They went down inside the engine, and there's actually a butterfly inside the engine that's stuck. They're trying to spray some fluid in there and actually use the wood part of a hammer to try and close it. Oh, right now they get the signal. Nigel's day is over. They cannot fix it here.
So powerful here a year ago, made his strong charge from the 28th lap on to the finish. A key ingredient in his championship and his first and only 500 win. But Nigel Mansell, the defending IndyCar champion, climbs out of his car and sits down, I think just thankful that he's got all of his parts with him. Nigel Mansell, an early retiree. He's with Jan Beekes.
Nigel, that was a very scary moment for you. The throttle stuck open, did it?
That's the scariest moment I've had in my whole career. I mean, we're doing 240 in the slipstream going down into one, and the throttle just stuck wide open, and I had to jam the brakes on and dip the clutch and try and get around the corner. And I was trying to do that for a few laps, but there's no way. And the boys have done a fantastic job all weekend, and Newman-Haas team's run real well. And as you can see, we're in the lead, and the car was running fantastic. And then just one lap, then it just stuck open like a switch.
Nigel, tell us, try to describe for us how tough it is physically out there for you.
It's bad enough. You're pulling a lot of lateral G. We're averaging 227 on full tanks. And, you know, you need the throttle control in the corners to balance the car. And when it sticks wide open and, you know, you got to try and get around the corner, I tell you, it's not nice.
Thank you, Nigel.
Thank you.
Closes on Nigel Mansell, being pushed by Michael Andretti. So they've closed in and made this a battle for fourth place.
This is a terrific race, and remember, all three of these men have extensive Formula One experience. Nigel Mansell on the left of your screen in the black and white car, of course, world champion. Gugelmin, a veteran of 6 or 7 Formula One seasons, and Michael Andretti bringing up the rear, of course, had that season last year for McLaren.
Mansell in the best qualified Lola, being challenged now by 2 Renards. Remember, in terms of winning 2, that Michael Andretti scored back-to-back wins here in 1990 and 91.
This is the first year that Renard has come to the Indianapolis car racing scene. And you look at the number 88, and of course right behind Michael Andretti, those are both Renards. The first year for them, they've been developing all year, and they are getting better.
Well, they came out of the box pretty good. Michael Andretti scored the win at the very first race of the season at Surfers Paradise, Australia.
And if you look back beyond this dueling trio here, Robbie Gordon is going to start to get in the picture. He's overcome problems he had earlier in the race, and we're going to start to see him join them. This is terrific racing.
Yeah, Robbie started the race on new brake pads and didn't have a chance to bed them in, so as his brakes get more efficient, he should close his battle too.
As we ride with Michael, listen to his throttle opening. He goes from the throttle all the way close to wide open and then back to close as he hustles it through the turn. He's very, very aggressive with this car.
Paul Tracy remains the leader, then Al Unser Jr., then Emerson Fittipaldi, first, second, and third. Neither of those challenging one another. This is the highest, best battle on the race course. Side of the corner, and Paul Tracy takes the inside.
And the next turn is to the left, so if you can get to the left of your adversary, you can get him on the next bend.
Now this is sometimes, remember, what makes passing easy.
Gordon makes the move on Nigel Mansell now. They come off the corner side by side. And Robbie Gordon has the line and the position there. But here is Paul Tracy as he screams down behind Nigel Mansell, who now runs in fourth place.
It's awesome. Just think, he's absolutely lapping Mansell. This is something we hardly ever see.
And Mansell pulled well aside. A terrific moment for Gordon, because having gone from dueling with Mansell, he's now a second and a half ahead of him.
And Paul Tracy in front. Bossell closing, Mansell closing. They're in traffic again.
Here we go again. Everybody's all crowded in the one piece of racetrack, but Tracy, who has such an uncertain future as we speak, is the man who takes control. Now Bossell attacks his countryman.
The view from Mansell's car, the left-hand side. Bossell dials way to the outside. Mansell comes inside of Mark Smith.
Second, third, and fourth, all in a line here. Bossell is quicker. Look,
Bossell moves to the outside around Fittipaldi. Can he hold that position? He'll trap him behind the slower car of Gugelmin.
So clearly you see the good handling. Emerson and Joy. Look at
this. Here comes Nigel on the charge with Fittipaldi. So the leader of the race is now moving steadily backward as Mansell gets him.
Subtle changes to the handling. Look, they sandwich the Hollywood car up Maurizio Gugelmin. Mansell on the outside. I just mentioned a couple of laps earlier, these tires tend to go off a little bit quicker than normal. Your confidence, then you don't need the courage. You know it can do it. You don't need to be brave. But Tracy is not as quick. Here's a slingshot.
Al makes the move for the lead. Michael Andretti in front of Tracy, not a factor, and take a look at closing in. There's Mansell.
So maybe Paul Tracy is beginning to suffer a similar problem that affected Emerson, because Mansell is right with this leading group here. The longer it goes, the better Mansell and Al Jr. seems to get.
And Al Unser Jr. grabs the lead away from Tracy. Mansell closing in. Remember these players a year ago? Tracy and Mansell. Let's get an update on Nigel Mansell, who moves into second place. Gary Gerald.
He just flashed by us and swings to the outside line as he heads for turn 2, and the crew took a deep breath as they watched that bold move by the defending champion. They expect on their stop that could be within the next 10 laps, they're going to make a change. They'll go down one turn on the left front side of the wing only.
International Speedway, the Slick 5200, under yellow again. Mario Andretti with damage sits out toward the wall. An interesting situation. Teammates involved.
Teammates crashing into each other. Mansell much quicker off 4. Down inside, top of your screen. Mansell is clearly past Mario. Mario obviously doesn't see him. I presume he didn't see him. Moves down when Mansell was clearly ahead. And Mario unfortunately makes very heavy contact with the outside wall and is still trapped in the car.
They're going to take their time with Mario. He's talking to the rescuers. He's conscious, moving around. They just want to make sure they can get him out without hurting him. Here it is. Look at the top of your screen again.
Mario must not have seen Nigel. Nigel's off the racetrack. Now he's ahead of him. Look at his front wheels. Ahead of Mario's. Mario's left front drives over the top. Jump on the brakes. And goes into it again, into the wall.
Mario down that low. Nigel, centrifugal force was pulling him up. Very gingerly gets out of the car.
Glad to see him get out. One of the biggest problems with hitting concrete walls with that side impact is the damage the right front wheel can do. That's what damaged Brian Herta up at Toronto.
But it's intact,
it
though.
is
You
intact.
wonder what else might have, because they're looking at that right leg. This yellow. Here is Raul Boisel closing on him and blows him away pretty quick.
Well, we may have a problem with Mansell. We'll try and get a good look. We can't see any of the right front suspension damage. Usually you see a steering arm or something bent, but Boisel blew by Mansell.
Now that just gets Boisel in 5th place. Mansell's still in 2nd. Gary Gerald, do you have any idea on the condition of Mansell's car?
No, other than the report of grip, but the crew has laid out fresh rubber. They're waiting for him on pit road. Nigel, just before the green, issued his apology on the radio, told the crew, please tell Mario I'm sorry. He felt like he was down as low as he could get over there in turn number 1. So now they're waving on pit road, and we await Nigel Mansell.
Mansell on the pit road, making the run down into the pits. Paul Tracy and Emerson Fittipaldi go into 2nd and 3rd as Mansell comes on the pit road. Gary Gerald, give us the call.
Well, we watch and we'll see what the crew does. Immediately, of course, they'll change all 4 of those wheels, get the fresh rubber and the fuel, and we'll see if they look and change anything else. Tommy Wirtz taking a look. Everything appears to be routine, Paul. I'm very surprised. No, now they stall. He grabs the clutch, pops it in gear. Now he's back up to speed as he accelerates on pit road.
And I didn't see anything obvious in the right front.
No, that was Timmy Coffeen going through his workout for the day, trying to push start Mansell. I'm glad he followed up on that rear wing, but what a costly pit stop for Mansell, who could have made it under yellow flag conditions and had to make it under green, but we're still not sure whether that tire change has actually cured it.
Into the pits once again, Gary.
Paulie radioed in and says, I can't drive the car the way it is right now. Now, it may be premature to say that he is totally out of the competition. We'll wait and see if he shuts the engine down. He's coasted to a stop. Engine still running up on the jacks. Looking now on the front suspension, both sides. Right rear's off. Now the engine's off. Wheel comes off. Nigel Mansell's day is apparently done. So the frustration for the defending champion of this race, the defending champion of the series, has just escalated another notch.
For us or the crew to say you can't immediately see something wrong, remember that as little as a thousandth of an inch change can make a world of difference on the car.
Nigel, what proved to be the problem? Was it the contact with your teammate?
I think so. The car just wasn't handling at all after that, and just a great shame for the Newman-Haas team.
Tell us now about the incident. It looked like you were trying to tuck down as far as you could as you went into turn 1.
Yeah, I got a great slipstream down the straight, and I was lapping, and I thought I was virtually almost half a car in front, and I saw Mario start to come across, and I tried to give him as much room as I possibly could, and came down on the inside of the pit lane, and it's just one of those things. I'm just so sorry it happened for him and happened to me.
Talk talk about the frustration of this season as the defending champion of this race and of the series, and how you just seemingly can't buy a break in 1994.
Well, unfortunately, that's motor racing, and you know, what happened today was unfortunately just a racing accident, and yeah, we were going very well. I was very, very happy, and I had a little out in my sights. I think there's only about 2 or 3 seconds between us, and I was just looking forward towards the end of the race.
Thank you, Nigel.
Nigel Mansell this week confirmed what we all knew. He's going back to Formula One.
Now, we knew his IndyCar career was over. What we didn't know was over also is his personal relationship with his teammate Mario Andretti, particularly after the crash 2 weeks ago at New Hampshire.
Derek Tigley had just said that he's going to have his hand full, and he certainly did.
And that was a brave lunge down the inside by Michael, because I really didn't think he was close enough. Here's the braking zone. Goes down the inside and hopes that Mansell gives him room, which he does. But that was a brave move by Michael. We're now on board with Nigel. He goes to turn, sees him, gives him enough room, shakes his head. But Michael, boy, he forced the issue there.
You've got to have a lot of confidence in Nigel Mansell to give you the room on something like that. Like a good sportsman, he in fact does.
Gordon has come to winning an IndyCar race. He's what, 2.5 or 3 seconds behind.
Only 2 names have ever appeared in the winner's point here in Vancouver. Al Unser Jr. has done it again. The other name would have been Michael. Robbie Gordon finishes in second. And Nigel Mansell gets together with Fittipaldi. And that's going to devastate a 4th and 5th place finish and bring Scott Goodyear forward into 4th. Gugelmin forward into 5th. On the very last lap, these two are together.
They're trying to get at each other by the looks of things here.
2 former world champions. Teo Fabi creeps past. Emo pitches his wheel all the way across the track. Nigel walks away, angry, frustrated, furious.
Took advantage of other people's problems early in the race, and now suddenly has more than his own fair share. But they are disgusted and blaming each other for this incident. Here it is here. This is braking for turn 10. Long way behind is Mansell. Oh, Emerson tries to block him. Oh, ho, ho. Emerson turned in early to try and block Mansell. Mansell was already committed and had nowhere to go, and smacks the inside concrete and Emerson at the same time.
And Mansell had a right to be angry about it. Fittipaldi now walking behind him, trying to catch up. When we come back, there's going to be quite a bit to sort out here. Still, there is that matter at the end of the race.
Emerson, tell us about the business in the last lap now with Nigel Mansell.
Well, I was coming to the last corner. I saw Nigel in the mirror. I said, there's no way. I closed the door. I said, there's no way he's going to pass me. And Nigel just never back off. He tried to use my car, my brakes, to stop him. And, you know, my car is not a ghost. It's a solid piece of metal that was on the track. And between my car and the wall, there was not enough gap for him to go through. And he just made a big judgment mistake, and I'm very disappointed, because Nigel is a champion. He should never do that. He don't need to do that to win race or to gain any position.
What was the exchange between you and Nigel as you both got out of the cockpits?
No, I just was very mad with Nigel. Nigel said that he was committed. I mean, he was committed to stop using my brakes.
Thank you. Paul?
They were both angry Nigel Mansell was not available for an interview. Derek, it's now your call.
Mansell had no hope of pulling this pass off. Emerson is exactly where other people will be on the last lap. Mansell, to my mind, is to blame here for this incident.
Also on the course, Mark Smith is stopped, and he has radioed in saying he believes it's a broken throttle cable. Thirdly, we are down here checking, and it does appear as though Robbie Gordon may have gear selection problems with second gear.
Too bad for Mark Smith. As you saw, he had an excellent starting position and was running 10th when he had that problem. Is the problem with Nigel is, look, he tries it under braking again. He's going to get it done this time as he comes around Robbie Gordon in the carousel now. Well, if there's a problem that engine, it didn't show there. I was about to ask you, Derek, was possibly what Nigel's worried about was that little hesitation under acceleration.
I don't know what the problem was, but Gordon braked too late, missed the turn-in point, locked up the left front, and Mansell, you never give a man like Mansell another opportunity. Watch Gordon's left front. Smokes it right there, misses the turn-in point. You never give Mansell a second opportunity. slams his way by, and that's it. All the work now pays off. Gordon makes a mistake.
And so Nigel Mansell and the Kmart Haviland Lola now runs in 4th place. And in fact, in a very few minutes, Robbie Gordon will have to deal with Mario Andretti, who runs in 6th place, running as Nigel's teammate. But Nigel Mansell back in the field has a problem. Came off song there for a second, and looks like he's on a limp back to the pits.
Oh, Mansell running 7th, and now slowly makes his way back. It's over now for Mansell. Hasn't got a chance here.
The report on Nigel Mansell is a flat left rear on the car as he comes into the Newman-Haas pits, Gary.
Well, we watch alongside this crew. No evidence of the rears being down, but you can never tell. May have lost some pressure. He's off the jacks in a way, and they'll assess those tires now. And this has been a day full of frustration for Nigel Mansell.
Nigel Mansell came back into the fight in 17th position, Gary Gerald.
Well, the interesting thing is the fact that they checked the tire pressure on all 4 of those that came off. None of them were deflated. So Nigel may have thought he had a puncture. In fact, it appears he did not.
So that stuff extremely costly for Nigel Mansell, who was running solidly in competition until he came in. 37. You talk about the changing. Nigel Mansell has reported to his crew that he's going to come in and come out of the race, and that looks like exactly what he's doing, Jan Beekes.
Paul, they suspected possibly something has broken on this car because they have made some major adjustments, and Nigel Mansell still has massive oversteer. So with a track like this, you cannot run at these kind of speeds with a car that loose. He's decided to park it.
So Nigel Mansell with just one more IndyCar race to go now before he heads back to Formula One. At the front of the field, it's still Paul Tracy being chased by Al Unser Jr. We'll be back with more of the Bosch Spark Plug Grand Prix.
Getting more loose as the race progressed. It continued to go that way.
Yeah, I mean, we're not quite sure what's happened because in the morning warm-up it was going very, very well, and as you can see, we made a couple of extra pit stops. We've taken 5 holes the front wing out of the car, and the car's worse than when it started. So we've just had a conversation. We've just retired the car, because it's very dangerous out there with a car like that, and I'm just getting in everybody's way. Something's happened somewhere.
You have one more race to go at Laguna Seca. How important is it to you to try and win there, going winless for this season so far?
Well, I think it's important for every driver to try and win every race, you know, but I'm looking forward to going to Laguna. It's a great circuit, and I just hope the team and I have a little bit more luck for the last race.
Will you miss this kind of racetrack? Will you miss 1 mile ovals?
Yeah, I mean, this is a very, very exciting racetrack, and I'm just very disappointed because in the warm-up this morning the car felt really good, but I think Mario suffered like I did with a very, very loose car, and we can't fix it.
Nigel Mansell with 1 race left. Paul?
We look through the cars as they go through here, but what will Mansell do? Earlier, Paul Page had a chance to sit down with our Nigel to discuss the future.
When the idea of coming here was first described, it was described as a great adventure. Has it in fact ended up to be a great adventure?
Absolutely. I mean, probably more so than anyone could have imagined. And I think what's happened in 1994 just proves to us personally what a great adventure 1993 was, and what an accomplishment it was to win the championship.
The fact that you didn't win the Indy 500 while you were here, will that be an empty point in your career, or something that you may try and come back at?
I don't think it'll be empty, because I mean, I have come third, and it's first time out after I came back from my operation. I think the fact that I've competed in 2 Indy 500s and say I've done it and I enjoyed it, and as you know, we left the Indy 500 this year not very happy man. I have to say, these months later, I'm still not very happy at how all that happened. But it was a great experience, and who knows what the future might or might not hold.
Your future then in Formula One. Can you tell us what the plans are?
Unfortunately not. We have to basically keep a tight lip and say you'll have to wait, like I will, until the end of the year to see what happens.
Well, tight lip, there's the operative word in that interview. Now, it's not only the end of Mario Andretti's IndyCar career, it's also that of Nigel Mansell, who after 2 years and 1 championship, when this race is over, is hopping in a helicopter and then a jet and heading off to Formula One in Spain.
And the reigning champion has taken with him so far just 2 struggling second places. But what else will he bring to Spain? A good result or an excuse? He's got 84 laps to help right that next chapter.
IndyCar World Series race of the season, the Toyota Grand Prix of Monterey, featuring the Bank of America 300, as Théo Fabi and Jacques Villeneuve go head-to-head with one another, and Fabi moves into second place. It looks like handling problems for Jacques as now here comes Nigel Mansell looking for a place.
Oh, he blocks Mansell. He sees him come. He goes right, he goes left. But Villeneuve, we saw him get sideways in the braking zone for turn 5. Maybe he's the first car to show that these rear tires are beginning to go away.
At the top of the hill, look how far over to the left Jacques was as they came into the corner. I'm surprised at that. It seems most drivers want to go all the way out to the right and then sweep into the top of the chicane.
And you see Villeneuve unstable entering corners. Mansell is ready to pounce. He doesn't have to take a risk, though. He knows he's going to make a pit stop. Bozell is behind Mansell, also will be forced to make a stop.
As Al Unser Jr., then Jacques Villeneuve, Théo Fabi, Emerson Fittipaldi, Raoul Boisel, Mauricio Gugelmin, and then this man, Nigel Mansell.
What a struggle it has been. The reigning champion, unlikely to win a race, certainly unless he can find a lot more speed than he has currently, but he's not the first reigning champion not to win a race in the following season. People like Ray Hall, Unser Sr. twice, 86 and 84, and Rick Mears were all champions that went on to not record a single victory the year of their reigning championship.
You know, there used to be, and I think there still is, a superstition in the sport, and it hasn't been followed lately, not to put the number 1 on your race car when you win a championship. You just saw why.
Well, Jan, I like those rumors, but how about this one? I think Robbie Gordon would like to stay where he is this weekend and drive for Carl Hogan Racing next year. But how about this one? Nigel Mansell returning to IndyCar with possibly Pat Patrick Racing, and he'd rekindle that friendship with Jim McGee, the team manager over there. Maybe even the Budweiser money going there.
The last rookie to have the pole in his debut is standing by with Derek Daly.
Yes, he is. That man is Nigel Mansell. Nigel, I know you're so busy today. It is so good to see you here. In 1993, you just electrified Champ Car Racing when you came from Formula One as the world champion here. It probably doesn't seem that long ago.
It doesn't, does it really? I mean, but there you are. It's 10 years ago since we won the championship, and it's actually 9 years since I've ever come back to a race, so this is the first time, and that's courtesy of Pat Patrick and Jim McGee here. And but the problem is, Derek, you know, you just want to get back in the car.
And knowing you would. But now tell me, I read that you are actually trying to make the seniors golf tournament. Tell me about that.
Well, we've got a PGA Senior Championship at Woodbury Park down in England this August, actually, and you know, the birth date, the 8th of August, it's when you turn that magic 5-0, so we'll be playing in the tournament there. And I've been practicing real hard. I've had 2 holes in 1 in the last 4 months and won 6 tournaments last year. So, yeah, we're doing pretty good as an amateur.
When you drove for Ferrari, they called you Il Leone, the lion. Were you an animal in the car or dramatic in the car? I mean, can you slow down and be a good golfer?
I think the great thing is with that is when you win first time out with Ferrari, it's something very special, a little bit of history, and even Michael Schumacher and Alain Prost weren't able to do that for Ferrari. So yeah, to get the nickname off the Italian fans was something special. And yes, you can slow down, but I'll tell you what, Derek, there is a spare car in the pits, and we might just go halfway through the race and just watch it from out in the circuit.
Thank you, Nigel Mansell. Let's go down to Calvin Fisher's got another